Friends, if you're looking for real old-school laughs, you're in for a treat because we've got them right here. Flip City Magazine. Remember Mad Magazine? Then it went woke? Well, don't worry. Flip City has no chance of going woke. That's right. 4 times a year, you'll get an actual printed magazine full of jokes, stories, comics, and more, all about today's pop culture, entertainment, and woke politics. Flip City takes terrible entertainment trends we love to hate with hilarious parodies of Lord of the Rings, Stranger Things, The Walking Dead, Star Trek, Hunters, and more. Trust me when I say there is nothing else like Flip City on the market. So subscribe today. It will be delivered in print, or you can even get it digitally if you're one of those wacky Zoomers. Either way, follow our link and sign up today, and if you put in midnight, you get an extra 10% off. Check out Flip City Magazine today.
Such a big heart. If I ever lost my little lover, I'd fall apart. You showed me a life I'll never forget. 'Cause I'm in love, yes, I'm in love with a midget. Such a little package, but a whole lot of love. She may look up at me, but she's an angel from above. She's fun size. She knows just how to do me right. Even at half the height, yeah. Such a little package, but a whole lot of love. She may look up at me, but she's an angel from above. I'm in love with a midget. Love with a midget. Love with a midget.
Here we go.
You see flying through that window, he's the pride of Mexico. No lady can resist the magic of his kiss, the woo of his tongue. No man can resist the might of his fist. When he starts, you'll be done, son. That's right. Here he comes. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Mexican Iron Man. He's made from aluminum cans. He's flying through the air. Whoa, catch him if you can. No lady can resist the magic in his kiss, the woo of his tongue. No man can resist the might of his fist. When he starts on you, you'll be done, son. Ole!
Stop eating my sesame cake. Stop eating my sesame cake!
You see.
Excuse me, ma'am. No porn at the bar.
Oh, it's okay. I'm transgender.
Oh, I had no idea. Do whatever you want all the time.
Television highlights of the news of yesteryear.
Good evening, everybody. How y'all doing? Welcome to the program.
Hey.
I'm Tom Connors. We have some very toxic men here tonight. Oh my gosh, look at this.
Well, Clobbering Times is definitely toxic. I, however,
True.
am a wonderful, even
Well, you
person.
are toxic incarnate. I mean, you are toxic man flu, the
I was created out of all of
flu.
that. Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
All of your toxicity came together. Kind of like Godzilla, only on a much smaller scale. That's how that came about. So.
but don't underestimate how much damage you can do. That's just it.
Oh, correct. Just ask Mrs. Blue. I'm terrible.
That's right. And welcome, Toxic Man Flu. And Andy, what you working on down there?
There's
Oh,
toxic
Hey.
pirate Mexican.
Toxic Mikey.
Pirate Mikey.
No woman can resist.
Or man.
Or man, that's right. And also joining us, that's right, the Orange Man himself, Mr. Clobbering Times.
Well, hello there, dude. I saw you guys were having a party and talking about really important things.
Party.
Yeah.
Vital things.
Everybody swinging.
Very important things.
Yes, important
Dance
things must be discussed tonight. And so,
on the radio.
Has Indiana Jones left theaters yet?
I think he's crawled out of theaters.
I think he's still in the
Crawling
bathroom.
out right now. Yeah.
He's
Oh,
on his
Lord.
I
He's
was
on his
catching
rascal.
some, yeah, I was catching some numbers, box office numbers from the weekend, and realized that Mission Impossible is 2 million away from Indiana Jones' entire international take. So Indiana Jones is 157 million international right now. MI made 155 already. So
Wow.
it's going to have some international legs. I think all of those scenes in different locations really pay off for that kind of movie. So
Well, and
That
that
was
may
his
be the
own.
only place it has legs. At least that's what I've been arguing. But
Oh well, I mean, domestically, I don't think it's going to do what it did to
that's
80
what I'm
million,
saying.
and it
It's kind
started
of
on Tuesday.
underperforming. Yeah,
Yeah, it's not doing what we're supposed to domestically, but and that's why I was looking at the numbers to see where it was, and then I got the kids are going to go see Barbenheimer this weekend, so I thought that was kind of cool. So
Well, and it kind of is funny because I put up this meme here, whatever you want to call it,
oh yeah, well no, that's just
where it
truth.
compared 40 years ago basically to 1984 Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Ticket prices then were about $250. The budget was $28 million, and that did a box office take of $333 million. And people did some of the inflation. That's like 900 and some million by
Yeah,
today's
that's a
standards.
ton. Yeah.
And then of course you go over here to Indiana Jones, where the ticket prices have more than doubled. They in fact look that's like quadrupled. Is that how you say 5?
You multiply that by 5, yeah.
I was just going to say because there's quad and what is 5 quid?
P-E-N-T.
Quintupled. Thank you.
Pentupled?
Well, it'd be a
Pentupled.
P. Pentupled.
Thank
It's
you. Thank you
pentagram,
so
that's
much,
right.
Andy. Yes, I'm not very good with that kind of stuff, but thank you for Andy correcting me there. So quintuple the ticket price. The budget was even more than that. Like you're looking at, look at that. That's like 1,000 times the fucking budget.
Yeah.
I'm not even exaggerating. That's literally like 1,000 times the budget.
Holy shit. Wow.
28
So-
million compared to 295 million.
Amazing.
But look at all the quality we
Inflationary
got.
cost adjustment for that. Okay. They made that first Indiana Jones film for $82 million. Today's money.
Wow. Well, that's actually the second one, but still, it's just because
Oh, the
it's 40
second
years ago.
is that
That's Temple of Doom, but
Yeah.
still,
Yeah.
like
They spent
point
more in
being,
Temple of Doom than they did on the first movie.
first one, yeah, like by 10 million, I think it was.
Yeah.
But the box office so far, I think this was as of the 14th. It says here 264 million. Yeah, Top Gun 2 has Tom Cruise's Mission Impossible, I should say, hasn't quite done that yet. It actually, I have the new numbers here. It's a little less than people thought. 235 is so far the take overall for
Okay.
MI7, which isn't nothing to sneeze at. But the problem is the 80 million stateside, because this movie should have easily done 100, 120 easy stateside. And to me, and then again, and I had to say this over on Valiant Stream, and I'll say it again here, this has nothing to do with how I feel about the movie or Tom Cruise or anything like that, or me trying to be like, oh, I was right, it's going to underperform. My point is this. I have seen a pattern in all blockbusters across the board, regardless of how they've been received. We're talking Transformers, Fast X, all of them this year have underperformed. Even technically Guardians of the Galaxy, the only one that you could argue has
Yeah.
made any real money, has underperformed compared to the second film.
Compared to what they thought. That
So my
last
whole point
Guardians
is this movie
should have
is-
made billions.
Yeah, this movie is drastically underperforming, and one of the reasons why I think it is my point is that 45 to 55-year-old demographic that helped Top Gun 2 go over the $1 billion, hump,
Don't give a crap.
is not going to see Mission Impossible. They're going to see Sound of Freedom. What few are going to the theater,
Mm-hmm.
because that's
Well, I
what
mean, if you're going to go to
is
the
blowing
theater,
up is in that 45 to 55
Yeah.
demographic, exactly. But anyway,
going into the theater's $30 a piece. Give a ticket and
Yeah.
then getting something to eat if you're there. Because if I'm going to the theater, I'm going to go like buy $40 popcorn or something, because I'm trying to support the local, people that work there. But you're talking $30 to go see that. So if I have to go
Yeah.
see one film this week, I know which one it's going to be. It's going
well, I
to be.
think Paul
Sound of
Shadow
Freedom.
made the better point on the morning show the other day, and he may pop in here. You never know with him on Sunday nights. Where he flat out said that, kids are not going to see movies. This next generation is not. I agree with him. The next two generations aren't. I would argue that the Zoomers and the Millennials are not going to see movies in just droves. They're not going. It's not their thing. Yeah, some of them went to Spider-Verse maybe. Because I've seen, it is true. Ibrahim brought up in the chat that Spider-Verse did well. That overperformed. That technically overperformed compared to expectations. Barbie and Oppenheimer are the only two movies really left in this summer that have any chance. Because the rest of the stuff coming out, Turtles, gonna underperform. It'll be lucky to do half of what Spider-Verse did. The Equalizer 3 will probably perform okay compared to the
But
last
it's in that
two.
same genre of people,
Like John
the
Wick
same
and
age.
stuff, yeah.
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 Well, I've
And
got
John Wick
kids-
did okay this year. That I can say.
It did
but-
good. I mean, I was expecting more from that film that I got. Some people thought it was really good, all that. I mean, there was a lot of action. And
and this is what I'm talking about,
series was
Justin.
good.
Yes, people under 40 are not going, millennials under 40 and Zoomers, the next generation under that, are not going to see movies now. They're just not going.
No.
Yeah. So my kids are 5 of them, and they're between the ages of 23 and 33. Okay.
And how often do they go see movies?
The only movies they've talked about wanting to go see were Into the Spider-Verse and going to see the Barbenheimer. And the only reason they're going to do it is because it's a cool name. See Barbie in the morning and Oppenheimer in the afternoon. Because somebody started marking it as Barbenheimer. They saw it on social media. Thought it was cool. That's what they're doing. They're doing that this weekend. Those are the only movies they talked about. The wife and I talked about Mission Impossible. We talked about Indiana Jones. The wife went with Transformers. That used to be a movie that all the kids, we would make that a family thing. We go to one of the theaters that has like the booths.
See, and that's one of the ones that underperformed big time. Yep.
There was only one kid that wanted to go see it, and that's because it was him and his mother's thing, was the Transformer movies.
And I watched the new one the other night, Tox. It sucked ass.
That's what they said. They
Oh my
were not
God.
happy
It was
with
worse than I could even imagine it was going to. I thought, okay, we're past the Bayformers stuff. This is supposed to be more of a sequel to Bumblebee. Oh my God, it was like it was even worse than the Bayformers stuff in some respects.
Yeah,
I mean, I appreciate that they had Optimus Prime looking like Optimus Prime still, like from Bumblebee and such.
Mm-hmm.
But my problem was there was stuff that Optimus Prime did and said he would never do. And there was just other points in this movie where it was either just like the old ones or stuff that I just didn't think fit within Transformers.
It's current year. They don't understand who their audience is. They don't understand that they haven't brought in anybody into this.
Well,
my kids are expecting their entertainment to be free.
I mean, Oppenheimer could be a wild card just because Nolan, I didn't realize. I always thought Nolan films came out in the wintertime because that's usually when Oscar bait comes out. I didn't realize his movies came out in the summertime for the most part. I'm like, okay, so maybe he's got a chance with Oppenheimer. This is his lowest budget since I think Insomniac or whatever, to where it has a possibility to make some money. But Barbie, I think, is going to be the big surprise this summer because it's going to pull in a lot of the women in that 35 to 55 demographic, and it's going to get the play that Top Gun
as long as they don't
hit
everybody over the head with current year stuff.
That's what I'm afraid of, but
you mean
who knows?
If Barbenheimer becomes Barbie Heinerschleit.
Yes. Jingleheimer Schmidt. Is that what we need for the
John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt?
We need a little.
Yeah, I just.
The AI from Mission Impossible got.
They came after him. They got Andy. Oh no!
He needs Tom Cruise.
Harvey pushed the button. Oh shit!
There you are. Push the button.
Push the button.
Wow.
Push the button.
Weird.
Yeah, internet's been doing weird stuff.
But we're not going to talk about all that stuff so much more anymore. We got Justin B, who's a new member. Thank you for that, Justin B. Let me see if I can see what level you are. Oh, I don't have the thing up here. That's my fault. But hopefully one of our mods has grabbed it here. If not, I don't see it there either. We'll just give you a video. All right, we'll give you a video of a puppy because we do puppy videos here when somebody becomes a member. So we'll give you the lazy puppy.
Oh,
because the lazy puppy's cute riding on the iRobot, and he bumps into the chair and has zero fucks to give about it. And here's another favorite around here: the Oscar-winning puppy. This guy deserves an Oscar. I mean, he really gives it his all. And look how proud he is of how much he gave that. And of course, a bored corgi, just because a bored corgi is cute. Even when they're bored, they are cute. Thank you, Justin B. We love members here. I'm going to try and do some member streams for me. 6 has bugged me. I should do that. I will. Final Smash is in the house. How you doing? Says Tatami Panel. Do you collect steelbooks? And if so, which is your favorite? I love physical media, and finding exclusive steelbooks has made collecting movies fun again. Thanks for everything you do. You know what, Final Smash? I never was a huge fan of steelbooks, but they have kind of made collecting again a little. I get where you're coming from because they're one of the few things that have gained value in collectible and movie markets like home video. which has been a market for me, like as a collector, that has gone down in value over the past few years to where, you couldn't be lucky to give away a DVD anymore. But the Steelbooks are collectible. Some of them are kind of neat. Some of them I feel are kind of poor. As far as a favorite, though, oh my gosh. I really liked the heavy metal Steelbook. Like, it seemed like the
that was
perfect
good.
Steelbook. It had the poster art in the front, like I like. And that back really utilized the fact that it was a Steelbook and it was nice and shiny. And it just had the orb ship, not the orb itself, but the circle ship that the stoned out aliens are in on the back. And it kind of looked cool, and the inside is nice. So that's probably one of my votes for best so far. And I'm more of a minimalist, and like I just prefer the original theatrical poster more than anything.
Yeah.
And just you don't need to get too fancy. Otherwise, I like uniformity. One that bothered me more than anything was how they kind of muffed up the Superman box set. It was almost perfect, but because of the way they packed the second film, they put like the opposite cover on each side to where it was upside down for the Donner cut. And it's like, why didn't you just... And on the back, and the reason I'm saying this, because on the back of the other ones, they just had the Superman symbol with 1, and then 3 and 4 on the back of 1, 3, and 4. But 2 is on the opposite side is the Donner cut, so it breaks that uniformity. I hate that. You know what I mean? Like, it just, if you're gonna do a box set, make it uniformed. That's my other gripe. But what about you guys? Like, Tox, are you a big Steelbook person, or you don't really care?
My middle child, huge Steelbook fan. I mean, he's got all of them. In fact, we have so many digital movies that he just he gets the Steelbook, gives us the code, and then from there, there's hundreds. And I have to admit, he gets some that are handmade, like customized. Those are the ones that I think that are my favorite. So he has some customized ones for some like Godzilla films that he bought from Japan. One of them, it took 2 years to get here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, during COVID and all that stuff, they had all those ships sitting around with containers. And
okay,
coming out,
that
right?
makes sense.
So it took 2 years to get here, and I am like, oh yeah, that was cool. So that was a handmade steel case movie for the original Godzilla.
That's cool. I noticed some people are bringing up Lionsgate, which has been doing some pretty good jobs with their Steelbooks, and I like that they have like a slip cover that plays into the Steelbook. Like, even though Terminator 2 is like one of the worst 4K transfers in history, and they just re-released the same transfer over and over again, the Steelbook was actually kind of neat because like it was like Arnold's face or whatever on the cover, and like just a little bit of his cheek or whatever you could see through the skull, but then you pull off the slip cover and it's just the steel skull. So that's kind of neat how they've been doing that kind of stuff. But I'm gonna bring in Culture here, who's hanging out in the back. How you doing, Culture?
Thanks. Hi. Great. Been
Wow.
back there for a while.
Like 2 minutes.
Okay. Anyway, hi everybody.
I just wanted to let
enthusiasm culture.
I wanted to let Tox finish his thought before I brought you in. Is all.
No, it's fine. I think physical media is the way forward. I think there's so much entertainment out there in the world right now. You'll never get through it all. And that's something that all these ass clowns out there in Hollywood need to recognize, because this is our time. If you're looking for new things, find us on these platforms. There you go.
Indeed.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just got Tox's take on this. Culture. Why don't you jump in here? Tell us, do you collect Steelbooks? If so, what's your favorite? And then Andy and Clobby.
I collect media like crazy. I like Steelbooks, but oftentimes they are not as appealing to me just because then I have to like specially reconfigure all my storage for all of that stuff. That's the biggest problem with them. It's just like when you had different size formats for the containers for CDs, DVDs, Blu-rays. When we get outside of the norm, it was very frustrating. It's one of the things that frustrated me about PS3, PS4 games, all the different sizes and stuff. But I collect physical media because I think I want to have the original of something. I don't want to have an edited version. And if I am buying an edited version, hopefully it's a director's cut, extended cut, non-rated cut, but the last thing I want to do is come across a digital of something and go, that wasn't in the other film. That's been changed from the other film.
Yeah.
You know, and I think a lot of us are coming and stumbling across that now. You know, I mean, obviously everybody points towards Splash and Back to the Future, but you know, there's a reason to collect physical media, and I hope everybody's doing it. I don't know, Klobby, you collect any of this stuff?
Well, I'm absolutely totally with you there on physical media, the streaming stuff. I don't know. I just don't trust them all the same reasons you have, but I don't really collect a lot these days. Just if that's something I really have to have. Never got a Steelbook, I must admit. Basically, just the Blu-rays when they come out with a new Blu-ray of something. Buddy, when I gave me a Blu-ray yesterday, I hadn't seen him in about a year or so. He brought me a new one from a favorite movie of mine. So when I can get one here and there, yeah, I'd like to get the Blu-rays. And but I'm with you, physical media all the way. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm pretty much as far as I go up is Blu-ray, because I mean I grew up with rabbit ears and bad reception, so something that like anything higher quality than Blu-ray, especially on my TV, is like, not that I watch TV very much, but it's really not worth it to me to upgrade anything more than that. Maybe at some point it will. But yeah, the physical media, ever since they started screwing around with things and changing things and deciding, you know, being the nanny about what we should watch and what we shouldn't watch, it's vitally important to grab whatever you can, especially the classics. I am picky about what I buy, though, and I'll usually wait a while to see if it has any rewatchability to me. For a while there, I bought all the Marvel DVDs and Blu-rays, but in retrospect, there's really only like 3 or 4 that I'll watch over and over again. So I'm picky about what I get.
Yeah, I think that the rewatchability of a film has actually now affected my collection of it too. I understand where you're coming from. So for a while, I just collected everything because I wanted the set of something. Now it's got to be good or it isn't worth it. I mean,
Well,
I understand.
I do have all 3 Indiana Jones movies.
Oh yeah, well that's hang on to that collection and don't get it tainted with anything else.
If it's something that you really love, definitely go out and grab the physical of it. You know.
Yeah. I'm with you, and I think that's keen. I think that's important.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I appreciate the fact that I have all the digital copies of the music that I love, because I ripped them myself. Right.
Yeah. Somewhere around here, I have a disc drive that's got like 2,000 songs back from my Napster days.
Oh wow.
Yeah, of MP3s and stuff from there.
I have a friend of mine that has
ahead, Andy.
An unlimited supply of stuff that he just managed to acquire over the years. So anything I need, I just, can I? Sure.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Sorry, I stepped away for a moment. You guys carried it off fairly well there. Yes.
Carried what
Culture
off?
did a great job.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything. I just talking. Yeah. Sometimes when I'm not interrupted, I can talk.
Here's the thing.
There you go.
I'm not carrying off either the Barbie Whopper or the Blue Beetle Whopper.
Well, yeah, I don't.
You guys were sharing that here. Let's talk about that real quick here.
I don't handle anybody's Whopper, Andy. I don't know about you.
What do you mean? Oh, you're looking at the pink Whopper there?
No, thank you.
Yeah, I think you sent this.
This is
the Barbie burger debuts in Brazil, I guess.
Oh,
yeah. So there's a picture of it down. Yeah, look at that. Okay, there's the beef. Of course, we know it's not.
Oh, where's the beef?
And it. Oh, look at that! Look at that magic pink sauce.
Oh,
And
pink sauce
whatever
ain't
the
as
hell
bad as a
that
Blue
is.
burger, like the Blue Beetle burger. Did you see
Well,
that
they were
shit?
doing like the Blue Beetle burger. They did black buns. They did something else. They did black buns for
nuts.
Juneteenth, I think.
Oh my god.
Yeah, something like that.
God,
Check
and
out those
so-
black
man.
buns.
So people are saying it looks like Pepto-Bismol
It does.
on the burger. I'm like, well, every time I go to Burger King, I get indigestion, so they're just preloading it for me.
It's true. I did the last time too, and I never used to because I used to work for him. And the last time I went, I'm gotten to the point after I'm like, I'm never eating that again, man.
Somewhere about 20 years ago, something happened at Kentucky Fried Chicken, and every time I've eaten there in the last 20 years, I have thrown up. So I just don't go.
Yeah, they changed their shit a while back. Yeah.
Yeah.
They replaced the chicken with pigeon, so
That's
That's probably
possibly it. Well, that or they're all GMO or whatever you call it. The because they
I think it was
produce
the
them with
corn
like
syrup or something they were using.
Cute- well,
and
that
they
could be
changed some of
too.
the yeah. But I mean, I grew up in Oklahoma with fried chicken was kind of a thing. So grandma.
Well, I know they started going through 3M for their for the stuff for the actual batter.
Oh yeah,
Like,
that's
yeah.
yuck.
Because they
It's
used
like,
to actually make it by hand or whatever, because that was what the commercials used to boast.
Yeah,
You
they
know?
would do everything by hand. They would have somebody, a chickenologist or whatever they call it.
Well, yeah,
Meat
they had
Culture
the
was
secret
one.
recipe or whatever.
And yeah, they would know that, and they would come, and there was only certain people in the store that knew what that was, and they would make all the chicken for the day. And then they would run. That I remember as a child going to KFC, and they would run out of chicken.
Yep.
And that's when you knew it was good. Well, then they get greedy and off they go. Kind of like macaroni.
I think that was when Pepsi
Grill
bought them
did
or
the same
whatever,
thing. Yeah, Pepsi bought them. Or whatever that brand is. It Pepsi brands? Is it Frito-Lay? Is that Frito-Lay?
PepsiCo, Frito-Lay, Hershey are all the same company. Yep.
Yeah. And they've got the oddest one is the Taco Bell Pizza Hut mashup.
Well, yeah, because I was actually
Restaurants.
working for Taco Bell when PepsiCo bought them out.
Yeah.
It was kind of weird. We were like, yeah, it was like this big corporate thing, and like, yeah, Pepsi is now our owners, and this will also synergize us with Doritos and Frito-Lay and blah 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 blah. We'll be able to have Hershey cakes now in the store and blah blah blah. Is all this thing? Yeah. It became all corporatized. That's what ruined Dunkin' Donuts as well. But
Yeah.
Accident Seller says, I wish I could fast forward live streams. I know I got to redo some of those songs. Those ones were done in much haste. But the Joe Biden one, I'm trying to sound like Neil Young or whatever.
I think you're doing great. That's my favorite one.
No, they're right. There were some people who were pointing out some of those are a little off key.
Well, you
But
can
like
always
literally, I throw
can-
those together like in like 20 minutes, 10
you
minutes
do.
sometimes.
You do, and I want to record one because I think I could do a cover of it.
No, if I ever get to doing an album, I will re-record all of them in much better versions.
But will you bring me on?
Maybe. Of course I will. I need some backup.
Okay.
Like I need you.
Culture, could you sing "Take on Me"?
Take on me. I can't hit that high note though.
Maybe you could rickroll us.
Never gonna give you up. Never gonna let you down. Never gonna turn around.
You could do
and
anything from the
desert you.
Doobie Brothers or Jethro Tull and look like you would fit in.
You know, when I was a kid, I
There
just
you
loved
go.
that bit where he's like, never gonna give, never gonna give.
Oh yeah.
And he does not look like you see the video, you're like, that's not the right guy.
Doesn't look like
That's
it.
not the guy that's singing this. Like,
did you see him?
you picture like this big black dude, you're like, it's this little scrawny white guy.
Did you see him playing AC/DC?
I didn't hear it, but I saw somebody
Yeah.
posted that. Was that you?
I reshared it. He's pretty damn
Oh,
impressive.
okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's got a hell of a voice. I mean, he had some other hits at that time. Just nobody else
Michael
remembers
Bolton
the other
used to be in
songs.
a
Yeah.
metal band.
Yeah.
He's a heavy
Actually,
metal
he has that voice. Oh, no,
He's got a
Poppy!
voice. Opie.
trying to remember because I have him on a soundtrack. He did a rock song. I think it was for either Easy Money or Back to School. Yeah, it's Michael Bolton. And it's like, oh my God, that ain't Michael Bolton. I guess it is.
Talking away.
I liked him on
I
the
don't
Lonely
know
Island.
What
Yeah.
to
What
say,
to
I'll
say.
say it anyway. Today's another day to find you shying away. I'll be coming for your love, okay? Take on me.
Nice.
Take on me.
Take me on.
He can't hit
I'll be
that
the
note
mean
well.
guy
Nicely
that comes
done.
in and beats up Culture.
I don't even think the lead singer can sing the high note anymore. That's why they do that acoustic version of it now.
In a
Oh,
day
but you want to talk to somebody who had a unique high voice?
I can't do it. No.
It was Brad Delp from Boston.
in a day or
That guy had a voice. That
Jackie
he could sing
Wilson.
those high. He could sing those.
Nobody could get as
notes
high as
forever.
Jackie Wilson.
No, but Brad Delp had a. He could sing the high notes without it sounding strained.
Jackie Wilson, if he was still alive, Mariah Carey would be going, God damn.
Yeah, Jackie Wilson had it.
You know your love. I can't even get that high, just on the main bit. Iranian Putin says, I went to see Avatar, Top Gun Maverick, MI5, and John Wick at the Cinema Bistro, IMAX. I'm doing a super chat now. For dinner in a movie. If it's a good movie, I will pay for a good experience. 95% of the movies I'd rather watch from the couch. Yeah, we were talking
There
about
you
this
go.
just before you come in here.
Yeah.
Culture about just, and I was saying this too, nothing against Mission Impossible. I enjoyed it for what it was. I'm not trying to be biased against it, but I was just pointing out
Of course you
that
are. You
we
don't like
have
Tom.
no, we have had this
All of my
issue with
Toms,
all the blockbusters.
Okay, but I need all of my Toms to get along, Tom.
I don't hate Tom Cruise. I watched all the look. I got him right fucking here because I just watched him the other day. Yes. All the Mission Impossible movies.
Tom moves
like
one
part
DVD
5
and
part
half
1.
his room falls over.
This is true, and this is why I was gonna bring up that Terminator disc when I went and let Sadie out quick when I was BRB.
Oh man, no, but
I couldn't find it. My shit's all discombobulated right now. I'm actually moving my office downstairs, but yeah.
The point behind the super chat's right, spot on. I mean, there are times when, why am I going to this film? You guys were talking about being inspired to go to films and generationally who's going to films. You're talking about Rise of the Master Beasts or whatever it was, and the other stuff that there's like we've had what? Oh no, it would be you. Sorry, Talks. You were talking about that, but what you're having?
Oh my.
What you're having is films are being made for tiny little fractions of an audience instead of something with broad appeal, and there's not enough films being made and created that has the 4-quadrant appeal that you need for blockbusters. If you could consistently bring the audience in like once a month in the summer, just give something for everybody to enjoy, you would re-inspire these 2 generations that you were talking about that we lost back to going to the cinema. Don't you think? Maybe I'm wrong.
No.
I don't know. I think, how we're doing things, how we're delivering things has fundamentally changed. I believe Hollywood made a very bad miscalculation. They thought that streaming was the way to go, that they would get people to pay this stuff and everything. And what they don't realize is people are on a fixed budget. Whether you think you are or not, you are on a fixed income. There is so much that you can spend. And the auto industry figured this out. You're going to, just an exercise here, everybody, don't tell me. Pull up in your head what you think a fair value amount per month that you're going to pay for a new car payment. Okay?
I know what I would like to pay compared to what we actually pay.
No, but what I think it is, right? So I'll just say mine is about $750. I think
you could that's rent.
I understand that. So I want a new Ford F-150 quad cab with everything on it. I know how much that's going to cost,
Big money.
right?
Yeah,
We're talking
$100,000.
$80,000.
Yes.
$100,000
right?
for, if you get a good one, it's $100,000.
Now, that's $750 a month.
Yeah.
That's over 8 years. Car loans used to be $3
or
for that same $750 a month, right? Most people, it's around $350 to $400. Okay, so that number hasn't changed in 20 years for people because it's generational. But the car prices have. So what they've done is they've moved the terms from 3 years to 4 to 5 to 6 to 7 to 8 to 9, right? And they're actually having to make the cars last past 9 years now when they were doing it only for 5. And this is all documented. I can pull up tons of examples of them doing it. Movies Entertainment didn't do that. They thought people are just going to pay $15 a month for Apple and for Paramount and for Netflix and for Peacock and for HBO and for Disney and Plus and Hulu and this and that and the other thing. I mean, they forced us to pay $100 a month for live TV, Hulu, and Disney Plus. I didn't have a choice right on that. And they took away my ability to get rid of the ads in that because of the deal we had. So I ended up paying, instead of $200 to $250 a month for internet and cable, which had everything in it, I would have to pay about $500 a month for all of these streaming services. Nobody has that kind of money, not in mass, that you're going to need to make money. That was their big miscalculation. They thought that the consumer was just an entity out there. They didn't think about who was in it. They didn't think about the people, mostly because I could argue diversity hires in their marketing groups and their financial groups, which is proving out by the huge disasters that's happening in Hollywood and Disney right now. And they just didn't think of that. Thought it was an unlimited pool of money because nobody teaches real economic theory anymore. It's all this communist bullshit.
Right.
And boom, no, I'm not watching it. I've got kids that are at the prime age. They refuse to pay for stuff.
You're not wrong, and that was kind of what I had said before. Is we're at a point where when you're paying for a streaming service, you know, it's not the same, and we don't consume the same way, right? Like when we used to going back to, like, because people, I just want to say this real quick because I got something. Jason Webster continue to do just random trivia, so I can pop it up on screen. I love this because we brought up Michael Bolton. I don't care if you're getting it from Wiki, just keep doing it. I like it.
How am I supposed to live?
I just had to say that, but no, because Eric Wimberg says physical media for the win. And I just want to go off your point a little bit here, Tox. Like, we used to watch and consume movies differently. And this was also going to my point of why I think Top Gun 2 did something that was an anomaly. And Top Gun, and this was my point. I know culture's going to hate this, but let me finish my point. Top Gun 2, the movie, was the anomaly, not Tom Cruise. People didn't go see that movie because of Tom Cruise. They went to see that movie because it was a sequel to one of the biggest movies of the 1980s. Back when we actually had movies that didn't fucking suck. Back when there was a time when I remember people would pay lots of money for bootlegs of some of the movies that were still out in theaters. Right? Because you were just talking about, $10 here for a streaming service, $10 for another one, it adds up. True. But I remember when people would pay $50, $60, $70 just for a fucking tape. I know people who shelled out $100 for Star Wars when it came out on VHS.
Yep.
Back in 1980.
Yep.
Do the inflation calculator on that. Klobby knows what I'm talking about, because guess what? The trick to it is they didn't bring it out for sale at first. It was for rental only. So what those video stores would do is they would lose it. So they would have a bunch of people who would buy a bunch of copies of it, and they would put it down as a lost VHS.
It wasn't even out for rent in the first few years. No, it was
that too. Well, that's when you still had the bootlegs, right? Literally filmed off of fucking movie screens. Yeah,
right. I had a horrible cam copy bootleg of it right before Empire came out.
I don't see somebody paying $100
right after Empire. I mean, but yeah,
right now for a bootleg copy of any of the shit that comes out of Hollywood.
No.
That's my point. You have a big differentiate. It's just not the same. These movies used to get people, and you guys brought this up at the top of this conversation. These movies used to get us excited. Even though Godzilla sucked, all I remember about the summer of 98, even though I graduated that year, I don't remember so much about the graduation part of it. It was cool. I went to a few parties, whatever. No. I remember Godzilla being everywhere for a month.
I remember walking out of it. But
you couldn't even walk. Well, speaking of walking, you couldn't walk anywhere without being reminded that it was coming out, was my point. And you had this palpable, even though the movie was a disappointment, you still had the, oh my God, I can't wait till Godzilla comes out. Just one more week and Godzilla comes out.
Forward to it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we don't have that now. Exactly. I mean, sure, even a movie like, my point is even a movie that bad was still worth the hype.
But you know what? There was some good music that came out of that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We still talk about it.
Right. Oh, yeah. How many of these shows today that are out there can we say that, okay, there's some redeeming quality out of it? And that Godzilla film, but there was some really good music that came out of that.
Well, not just that, though. That was just my prime example of even a bad movie at that time was better than any of the good shit we get now. Right?
Sure.
Let's talk about another movie you talked about was like how big it was in '96 when Independence Day came out. Holy shit.
Oh, yeah.
Like that, I can imagine, was like the closest you could compare to probably Star Wars, right? In that many years.
It was pretty big stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the first time I remember going to a theater where it was nuts to butts. Like we could not barely even get in the theater. It was like, what is this shit? We've never had this before, at least in my lifetime.
I were in a theater like that once.
I know, but that was the wrong kind of theater to be in, boys.
Pee Wee Herman?
Is my mic on? Shit.
Accident Seller says physical media plus digital backups is the way to go. I agree. Mm-hmm. Do your own digital backups. Fuck trusting them.
There you go.
Todd Zilla says thoughts on YouTubers like DC and you guys bringing the indie story to the public years ago, causing Lucasfilm to recut, possibly ending KK's career. Oh, is this the new excuse they're going with?
Oh, no, wait. KK's not going anywhere because nobody wants her job.
Well, that's a big part of it. Like, but I mean, is this the new thing going around now? Is they're using the excuse that because of Doomcock and other YouTubers leaking all this stuff early on that that they had basically reshot the movie into a piece of shit movie? Is that what they're trying to claim here
Look
now?
what Doomcock
I don't
did
know.
to She-Hulk. I mean,
I think
They did
rumors
that to
are-
themselves.
I think
I mean,
rumors are
those
an
girls were
important
on Doomcock's dong like white on rice. I'm just saying that. Yeah.
What were you going to say, Andy?
thing. I think rumors are an important part of things because it's like if, like in my old job, working in retail, the loud consumer is your best friend because you can make changes. The worst thing for a retailer or anybody in any kind of sales is the quiet person who just kind of quietly walks away and never comes back spending any money. And that's the majority of people. And like, and we have this thing where it's bad manners to go and criticize people like this, but no, when you break a rumor out there and it gets some attention, it points out to somebody like, hey, you know what, you might be going in the wrong direction. And then when it comes out to be true, that because I've been saying for a long time, all these idiots had to do was tune in to YouTube and listen to what their critics were saying and just do what they say, and they have a hit, because we're fans and we actually want to enjoy the things that they're making, but they don't do that. So I think that the rumors are actually an important part of this. And everybody does it. Everybody's got their sources. They can criticize and make fun of, Doomcock got sources. And then 5 seconds later, there's somebody says, well, I had a guy that told me, I can't say who it is, dude, you're doing the same exact thing. It's like, the hypocrisy is a little deep there. But really, I think that a lot of people pay attention to it because a lot of people want to know, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I mean,
Honestly, they should be thanking us.
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't for Doomcock and the leaks coming out, they wouldn't have changed the ending from what it originally was. To me, it's almost like if that's the excuse they're using, then they're basically confirming that the leaks were true. And they were going to go with that other ending, which would going to be, Indy being replaced with Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, it goes to show you. I mean, so much didn't happen in that scene. Him getting knocked out, drug onto the plane. And how did he survive with a chest wound as an 80-year-old man, bouncing around through horrible weather. And then she gets him there and gets him on the plane, flies him back through the wormhole thing. And he shows up with a Band-Aid on his chest and everything's that was
a moving
so
chest
rushed.
wound too.
Yeah.
It
That
moved.
was so rushed. Yeah. And so they didn't, that was, and Mangold has come away from this looking like a jackass.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you're going to deny something, you better make sure the truth is not going to come out. And it did. And that's why it looks the way it does.
Well, and he got, go ahead.
My old job, we were the biggest supermarket chain in the world for 150 years. And that we used to change presidents and nobody would do the one thing that would have saved the company was concentrate on sales. Because like Disney, they were making their money through the back door. They weren't making their money through the register. They would have different, programs. They would get, money from manufacturers, and they would get slotting allowances for warehousing product and all that. And that's how they would generate the revenue instead of pushing it through the register. And everybody told them, you've got to increase sales. You've got to increase sales. We went through president after president after president, and nobody would increase the sales because there were too many people that were making too much money with the system in place as it was. And eventually they went under. They went bankrupt. And
that's what Chapek was trying to do, is put in the folks that they would have to answer to in that respect. And that's what they didn't like.
Yeah.
Cryam says, ever hold off buying a movie because it's the first of a set and you may know how the whole series will not know how the whole series will finish, or so you only need to get the collector's set even if you're waiting 5-6 years. Cryam, I do this mainly with television shows. I will not generally, sometimes I will, but very rarely will I buy them season by season by season, or I get fucked over 9 times out of 10. Because I usually could have bought the whole complete box set for what I paid for 1 or 2 seasons when it's all said and done, or they never finish them, or what have you. Not usually so much with movies, because they will come out with a box set for movies, franchises, just about every time a movie comes out. So if you want to keep up with that, you're going to be waiting forever. At the end of the day, but like, yeah, no, I usually just kind of wait and see what happens most of the time. What about you guys? Do you just not really even buy a lot of box sets usually?
Yeah, I think the last box set I bought was either Buffy or Angel, because a lot of that stuff is available, on streaming somewhere. And I don't know that I've had any big favorites since like that I really want to watch over and over again.
What I mean, now there's very little that I'll buy in a box set. Before the last Bond film, Bond 25, came out, I bought the box set because I've owned all those films in multiple formats, VHS on up, right? I mean, I even recorded them, removed the commercials from the stuff that ran on TV, right? But I bought all the Bond films in that box set that you were supposed to add the last film to, which fuck that film was shit. But anyway, and I'm cursing because I'm that upset. Bond's one of my favorite characters of all time. But anyway,
you can curse on my channel. I don't care.
Yeah, well, I care. But when I look at it, I mean, I kind of feel like it was a waste because I've now got a box for a film that I freaking hate that'll never have a movie in it. At the same time, I have all of the films in one place, which I truly appreciate. But the problem is that you get to that last film and it sucks. Just like Tom was saying, you get to the last part of a television show and it sucks. I mean, this just happened on the show The Blacklist. The last 4 seasons of that TV show, that sucked. So when you go and you invest all of this money in something that you appreciate up until a certain
That's
point,
why I avoid most new shows. Yeah. I only usually buy shows that are older shows.
I mean, but Tom, I mean, you have to admit, even though some shows fall off, they're worth it all the way to the end. I like MASH.
What I'm talking about is like, even still, MASH is something I would buy a whole box set of.
Yeah.
But now, like, so a lot of these newer shows, now here's a perfect example. I feel like I'm glad I hadn't invested too much into Yellowstone yet. I was going to buy that Dutton box set and all that kind of shit. And now the show's probably going to go off the rails here in this last half of the 5th season. And I'm kind of like, oh, great. I'm glad I didn't invest all this money into a $100 box set. You know what I mean? Like, but at the same time, I do kind of like box sets because sometimes you can get cheaper. Like, I got the Clint Eastwood box set that has like a whole shit ton of his Warner Brother movies in it. Awesome. And I got it for a pretty decent price. And some of those discs are out of print. Like, you can't get, good luck trying to find some of them. But yeah, it's a great set. I also have like a Frank Sinatra set that has like a lot of his films in it. I like those. I don't mind those sometimes. And I like the good TV sets. But here's an example of something that pisses me off. CBS finally looked like they were going to start releasing the Andy Griffith Show on Blu-ray in remastered form. Cool. And they put out the first season. So I bought the first season. They never did the second season. They just ended up doing a complete box set. So now I have 2 of the first season.
I hate when they do that, especially a series like that, which they would sell. Sometimes they do it to even some lesser series. You get the first 3 seasons of a 5 series, one that lasted 5 or something like that. Then you won't get the last 2 or whatever.
2 or 3, yeah.
This is a show that there's no excuse to do that with Andy Griffith.
Yeah, and that's my other pet peeve is like Mr. Belvedere's one where they release like the first 2 or 3 seasons and they have never released the last season.
Oh man.
Like, that's the thing is sometimes it's like, okay, great, I can get the first 2 or 3 seasons. Where's the rest?
It's happened. So I got a buddy of mine who's a big time collector of box sets, DC or DVD and Blu-ray, and they're doing that a lot because he gets every old Western that's ever existed, old TV show Western, and a bunch of the other 70s series like some of those Macmillan and Wife and some of the McCloud and all those other shows from the 70s and things. And they'll come up with the first season. McCloud, they won't come up with the second season of McCloud for some reason. And some of those Warner Archives put out a lot of good stuff too. Yeah, they give you the first season of Macmillan and
various reasons.
Yeah, and then they don't come out with the later seasons unless you're big like Columbo. They do that, but
or you get lucky and they'll eventually just do a complete set. Which that's one of the few times I like Mill Creek, which is a real shit company otherwise, but they have done a great job with that. I got they did a Miami Vice Blu-ray set, right? Great. Magnum PI. What's his face? The one that Magnum PI came off of, kind of shit.
Yeah. I mean, but from a historical standpoint,
trying to remember the name.
I'd
of the
like
show.
to see them do them all because there's so much British comedy and shows that were lost from the 50s, 60s, and 70s when they had that big fire in their film room.
Yeah.
During that time, and all that history is lost, and not everything goes into the museum. That I think they have one in New York and stuff, and releasing that stuff out to where people can physically buy it. That stuff's always going to be out there, eBay and other things and stuff like that.
Well, and this is one of the arguments I was getting into with some of the people over the strike stuff. Like with the actors and the residuals thing. It's like, okay, I understand if you got a speaking part, costume part, all that kind of stuff. But one of the things that got in the way of a lot of DVDs getting released in the last few years, like of TV shows and stuff, has been like music rights and such. Because they didn't get that stuff all organized back in the day. Now I can see, and this is the downside I see of, is in the future, if you've got to pay out a shit ton of residuals, they're not going to pay you guys. They're just going to not release the shows. Right, the shit's just gonna get vaulted, because that's what happened to all this stuff with the music. Is until they could figure it all out, shows like Life Goes On, or not Life Goes On, Wonder Years, and WKRP that are heavy with the music.
WKRP did just come out though.
Eventually, that's my point. And you know how that happened, Klobby, is because eventually there was basically 3 companies that bought up all the music. That's why.
Oh, yeah.
Because for years, music had been spread out through all these different record studios and such, that different people own the money as far as the rights and all that kind of business. To where until they got all these rights conglomerated, it was a literal nightmare to try and do all the licensing to get all these songs. And that's why a lot of these shows were just being released with replacement music and or just not being released at all in the case of Wonder Years and WKRP, because they were so ingrained with their music that you couldn't, right? It was just like, how can you release it when that's kind of part of the whole thing, you know, with Wonder Years and WKRP. They are part of the show, right? They're kind of like part of the cast. You know what I mean? It'd be like if they cut every scene out of one of the main characters out of the cast or something like that. Yeah. So I can understand that's just an impossible feat to try and release some of these things. And I can see that being in the future. Is like, if I got to pay all these extras, then I'm just not going to release these shows or movies. Fuck it.
Right.
We get it for the initial run, and then after that,
you want to talk about an industry that was gutted. Music industry, it totally been gutted with all of the stuff that you have on Amazon and Spotify and all that stuff now. You know, everybody's releasing their songs for $1 or less, and you got Bandcamp and things, and there's just so much stuff that's happening that it's much easier, I think, now for independents to get seen and heard. Look at Tom McDonald, and just one example, him, and there's multiple others. The Dead South, one of my favorite bands, bluegrass band out of Canada. They put out a video of one of their songs, and it's done 400 million views on YouTube. That's what skyrocketed them, right? And it kind of killed the music industry. There's no that movie mogul kind of sausage grinder, seedy kind of thing. It just disappeared.
Well, there was it was multifold. There was that, the greediness of the record companies,
right? Mm-hmm.
And you also had it to where basically people have now a home studio in their home. Hell, you got a home studio in your pocket on your phone. Right, like you can create
the iPod really killed the music
quality.
industry.
Yeah, you can create studio quality music now anywhere you are, and and the other side of it is you don't need a distribution model. You've got YouTube, you've got SoundCloud
Spotify,
or whatever, all these Spotify, all these other places
Bandcamp,
that you can load.
All these places you can dump
Bandcamp, exactly. Yeah. So what that did then was
you can get musicians from around the world through Fiverr,
and then at the end of the day, you know, they're not selling the kind of records they could have through the amount of records they could have through a record company.
Yeah, but the artists weren't getting that money anyway.
Exactly. And that's where I learned early on through a lot of this radio stuff. Like, even though the radio stations pay ASCAP and such, nobody actually gets the specific amount. Like the record companies had it so pent up to where none of the people in the industry were seeing any of that money. And even some of the bigger guys, if you've noticed, they've had to go through, and they were the ones who could afford it, go through all these lawsuits to actually finally get the money from their music. Like the Beatles are a great example. Do you realize they were only seeing for a time period like maybe 10% of the money they were supposed to be seeing, just because of all the corporate shenanigans that were going on between them and their money?
Label. Yeah, did all that stuff. Yeah,
like
there's a reason why they did that.
They could have been so much more richer than they already were. Elvis is probably another great example. Like Colonel Tom Parker fucked him so hard,
so bad,
fucking hard. Like, and that's the thing is Elvis probably could have
got him. I mean, because Elvis loved him, but
I mean, Elvis could have made Elvis made enough money at the end of the day, if you really think about it, that he got screwed out of, that his kids could have been rich till the end of the next century. without ever having to work their lives. Because he's worth more dead now than he ever was alive, on top of it all.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
And I think
mean,
movies are kind of heading towards that same thing.
Sorry, we went down a weird path, but yeah.
Well, I mean, you're seeing on Friday Night Tights, I saw them do the Epic Verse and the movies that they're doing there, and the shorter films that we're seeing, and independent people making. And Culture wants to put together a studio to do horror films. It doesn't take a lot of money to make something good if you have a good story and people who are passionate about doing it.
Unless you're hiring
Sound of Freedom proves that. Yeah.
Unless you're hiring what, Andy?
Lizzo for the horror film.
Oh
No.
Well, she could be a great horror.
Wasn't she the evil
Well,
person in the
I tell you what,
Mermaid?
if I were casting the 7 deadly sins, I have Sloth.
Gorlock.
Yeah, Sloth, Gorlock. She's saying she's been cast in the Gorlock biography.
But just to specifically answer this,
Not
as far as
without
like
my Gorlock.
if I was ever waiting for a box set, I can't answer this, Cryam, because I am a movie whore. So like I buy just about everything I can.
Well, you're just a whore.
Yeah, I am a whore.
Oh, the last box set I bought is sitting behind me. VHS, Star Trek, the motion pictures. Wait, through Star Trek 5. Star Trek 6 hadn't even come out yet.
That reminds me, actually, there's your answer, Cryam. The last time I did not buy something, and Klobby probably knows what I'm talking about, when Paramount was remastering TNG and TOS, and they decided to do them season by season instead of just releasing a box set. Like most people, said, "Fuck you! I'm waiting for the whole set."
I bought them.
Some
that
people
way,
did
the whole set too.
Yeah, and they don't have. Yeah, I'd have bought them anyway. Most of my stuff that I have is like Sherlock Holmes and
we all knew they were going to do it too. That's why I just waited. But Action Com says, "Can they hit the low note? The low note
Without a beat in my
I'm sure I
heart, without a love of my
Is he
own."
talking about the
ball,
dip,
dang, 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 ding, dong, ding, blue
blue moon, blue
Oh,
moon.
that one.
Dip, dip, dip,
Oh.
dum.
I'm
the
feeling
old- the
mighty
oldest one.
low.
My voice is as low as my penis.
I think I got it.
No.
Ball to the ball, to dang a dang dang, ding a dong ding. I can go pretty low.
Yeah, Tom can go really low.
That's what I've
seen him
heard.
hit some lows. Yeah.
I've had a lot of lows. This mind intentionally left blank says, going to the theater is about the experience, film plus presentation. If bad, why go? And not only that, and this is just me, I don't know if anybody else has noticed this, I've really lost the desire to go to the movies ever since they switched to digital. I really don't like the presentation. At first, it was kind of nice. I was like, oh, cool. We don't have to worry about any more scratches or burnouts or any of that kind of crap. But the first thing I noticed at the first first digital presentation I ever saw, what I noticed was it looks dingy. It looks dark. It doesn't have the color. Something is missing. Film used to be bright and vibrant, right? Like, and that was because the way that film was. I mean, the quality you see in a theater right now technically isn't even as good as some 4K presentations. In most cases, it's not.
Well, I mean, I have a better home theater, and I don't
That's
have
what I'm getting
really
at,
home
yeah.
theater and all this stuff right from there. So to speak to the family experience, the last really good family experience where all the kids, girlfriends, and the wife and I went was 22 Jump Street. We went to that and just laughed through the whole thing. Was it a perfect film? No. Did it have a bunch of dumb jokes?
Better than it had the right to be, though.
But I mean, come on, Korean Jesus, and you fuck the
Don't
captain's
fuck
daughter.
with Korean Jesus. He's got Korean Jesus shit to do.
That's right. Ice Cube in those movies is hilarious. And if you're not laughing at him trying to kill, what's the dude, the fat kid?
Jonah Hill.
Jonah Hill. Trying to kill Jonah Hill's character in there while Channing Tatum's running around screaming, "You fuck the captain's daughter." That's just hilarious. And the entire family went and had a good time. We were all
I like
adults.
the Jump Street films.
Yeah, and that's the last time we went as a group and enjoyed it. because it's the last time all of us said, "Hey, we really want to see this film."
And yes, to answer your question, most older projectors are 2K. That's
Mhm.
part of the problem. Yep.
Go see an IMAX, and you're lucky if
IMAX
the theaters are screwed up.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is most IMAXs aren't even true IMAX. First of all, not just because of the size, but most of them are digital. They're not even
Right.
running IMAX film. But they're a little bit better projectors. Usually in the IMAX, they'll have like either a laser projector, which is kind of more of like a true 4K picture or whatever, and some of the others. Some of them are getting better. I've not yet seen a laser projector unless they had one at IMAX.
But if you get a true 4K TV that's 85-inch TV,
exactly, which is basically what I got.
You're
So it's
seeing the same thing
with
you would see
Dolby
in the theater,
Atmos,
right?
with
Culture.
Dolby Atmos, and in some cases better.
Well, and I would argue that Tom actually has a better viewing experience than most people that go to any theater outside of a true IMAX representation. I mean, if you don't see Oppenheimer in IMAX, in a true IMAX location, you're not seeing the whole film. Every single frame of that film is shot in full open matte IMAX. That's it. I mean, you
And
can't
it's
get
shot
better
on
than it.
70 and 65 millimeter film, as far as I know,
wasn't
too, yeah.
Mission Impossible?
I
Most
don't know
of
if the
it.
whole movie was, but I was gonna say some movies like that they'll just shoot certain things with the IMAX cameras.
It wasn't on film. It was shot with the IMAX digital stuff.
Yeah. See, there's only been there's been a leaning back towards, and I kind of predicted this might happen. There's been a leaning back towards shooting some stuff in film. Now we've had
It's
at least
expensive.
a few movies in the last few years that have shot in film, and I just watched some the other night, and last night actually.
You lose so much depth when you don't shoot on film.
Well, am I the only one here who has seen the new Perot films, the one that like the Murder on the Orient Express and the Death on the Nile?
I love both of those. I love those kind of films.
They're shot on film.
Yeah,
and you can tell they look beautiful. Now, I'm not talking about the quality of the adaptations. I know there's a lot of people who debate.
Got it. But
I'm talking about
just
how they
the look
yeah.
and feel of those films. And the scene in the bakery in the Orient Express film, and where
just the train shots and some of the other stuff.
And all that stuff and everything. You can tell it was
amazing.
just they blocked and everything from there. It was really, really good. Now, the adaptation, I mean, it's the same basic story.
Well,
all of those,
the first one is, but the second one not so much.
The second one is not, no. But the first one is a
Did you just know they got a third one coming out? I didn't even know it till last night.
What are they doing? Murder Under the
Halloween
Sun?
Party. No, Halloween Party.
Okay.
The trailer's even out and I didn't know it.
Now, see, those kind of films, the mystery films, I can go see all day.
I like them.
I'm
them.
a big mystery person.
I like the first one better than I did Nile. Nile was okay, but it was drawn out, and I know it was like they deviated.
Nile itself as a
from
story doesn't have as much as Murder on the Orient Express does.
No,
Murder on the Orient Express is
the
just
stories,
a classic, right? It's like Sign of the Four or any of those kind of things from the Conan Doyle and Sherlock
There's
Holmes
a few things in the newer version though that I thought were kind of dumb, like the whole thing with making the one character black and shit for no good reason, making Willem Dafoe fucking German for no good fucking reason, just so you could have that. And that's the thing. Are they just putting that show on for him at the end of the day? Not to spoil anything for everybody, but like, if you watch, this is one of those movies that does not hold up on rewatches, I bet. Because after the movie, I'm thinking about a lot of this shit, and I'm like, wait a minute here. Compared to, because it's been, what, fucking 40 years since I've seen the 70s version of it with, Peter, was it? Not Peter Ustinov.
Peter Ustinov.
Was it Peter Ustinov?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Ustinov, and I think even Psycho's in there, and a couple other people. Like, it was an all-star fucking cast for that movie.
Oh, yeah. I
remember watching it as a kid on TV every once in a while when it would come on.
Was it Hot Under the Sun or Murder Under the Sun?
Murder or Hot Under the Sun? Yeah, I haven't seen that
where
one.
they go there. Yeah, there's some really good stuff in that.
Yeah, I couldn't even believe it. I'm like looking shit up, and all of a sudden the trailer popped up. I'm like, I didn't even know this was coming. It's coming in September.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, and you know, I think we're missing some of those things. Some good mystery type shows, whodunits and things like that. What I watch on TV now are usually British mystery crime dramas. That's what I'm watching. I've watched some of the older stuff that they put on in 2000s before they went off the deep end.
That was the other thing I forgot. They're not calling it the Halloween Party. It's called A Haunting in Venice. That's the other reason why people.
Oh, they're changing the name. Oh, God.
Yeah. I just found that. Here's the teaser trailer. So this is actually a Disney movie that's produced. They finally actually use the Fox logo, or the 20th Century logo.
Everyone
anyway.
who ever lived here falls victim to some tragedy. Like her daughter a year ago.
My daughter was my whole life. To hear her voice again, I would give all I have.
Wait, I thought that one guy was dead.
If someone wants to be heard.
Is Michelle Yeoh in everything now, or what?
She does not need to be in this film.
Why is she?
She's in Transformers as well.
Maybe she's gonna kick some ass.
Michael Burnham shows up.
I kind of like how this trailer works, though. You guys might get what I'm saying by the end here.
Yeah,
like they don't
I
let
see
you know
you.
what it is until the very end.
That woman called the spirits. And they answered. You saw what I saw.
For once in your life, admit that you are up against something bigger than you.
Tina Fey?
Tonight, we are all afraid.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah, they save him for the
We
very,
cannot
very
hide
end.
from our ghosts. Whether they are real or not.
So the mustache is back.
Yes, he is.
Well,
Yep,
remember at
that's
the end of the
part 3.
last one, he signed it off. He shaved it off when he went to go see the singer. At the end
Did he?
of at the end of
Oh wow, I must have
Death
missed
on a
that. I
Nile,
just watched it last
she
night
said,
too.
you know, what used to be who you are and all that stuff. And at the end, when he goes to see her singing in the nightclub, they do a close-up on him. He shaved the mustache off and you see the scar.
I must have been half-assed falling asleep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But that's the kind of stuff I can get into. That I like that kind of genre of film. So
I just thought it was kind of unique how they kind of made you think it's this haunting kind of like
that's
ghost story
pretty good.
movie, and then you realize at the very, very end, oh no, this is it's
This
an
is
adaptation
him.
of the Halloween
Yeah.
party or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, I like that. I thought that was a good trailer. Michelle Yeoh, I think she's a good actress. So okay, I am seeing too much of her.
Yeah, I noticed that because she does a voice in then a new Transformer movie too. I'm like, is she in everything? Like Christ! Like every
Yeah.
time I turn around,
Like-
she's in every movie.
Well, and you probably could have done Mr. Sulu in that part and been the same thing.
And I get it. This is a very debated version of the adaptation. I know there's some fans of Perot who are who do not like this take on the character, and I totally
Yeah,
respect
I
that
understand that.
because it
And-
is a
and I
very
get that,
different take. Yeah.
Well, my favorite
I do
Sherlock
dig the
Holmes is
first
Jeremy
one, though.
Brett, right? I like him.
Oh, he was
and
great.
then they had
Brilliant.
yeah. It was so sad what happened to him. He was such a good actor, and with heart conditions and stuff that he had
Yeah.
got him sick. But I did enjoy the Elementary with the guy
Did
that
you
was in Train Spotting.
You
I
like
thought
that thing? That's it?
yeah, I thought it was a modern day adaptation of it. If Sherlock Holmes were happening in today's, what would be his problems? He
I didn't
was
see
a
that
drug
one.
dealer and all that stuff. It was a CBS show. Watched a lot of it. I've seen the show. There's one episode, episode 9 of season 1, called Leviathan, and I could probably recite this show because my wife would fall asleep in my lap while we were watching that show, and for 9 times. So I saw it 9 times because I didn't want to get her up and watch the thing. But I enjoyed that and the arcs that were in that. I thought that could have gone on a little. I can't Michael Lee, whatever the guy's name is. I can't remember. He's a good actor. I liked him, and I enjoyed what Benedict
Lucy
Cumberbatch
Liu was
did.
on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Lucy Liu was in it. Yeah,
The
as
Cumberbatch
Dr.
show was really good. It didn't make much of it.
I remember people talking
Yeah,
a
I
lot
know
about
it
the
sucks.
Cumberbatch one. Yeah.
Well,
Except for
I
the
mean,
last
the problem that
episodes.
they had with that
Yeah.
was the guy who was playing Watson.
Yeah,
Um,
Michael Freeman, something Freeman.
Mike Freeman. Yeah,
Yeah.
Martin
Martin
Freeman.
Freeman, right?
He was in the middle of filming the the Hobbit
yeah.
films,
Yeah.
right, and couldn't do them. And then Cumberbatch was also in the Hobbit films,
Doing voices, yeah.
doing voices of the dragon, and he did the Necromancer. So
Yeah.
they were doing that, and they couldn't get him over there in time to do some of those
Right.
shows, and it really hurt. I thought that was the person they picked to do Moriarty in that set of shows. was very good, and that arc and thing from there was very good.
They didn't do a lot of them, but they were the first couple seasons.
They were
first
good.
Like three. There were three long movies. Each of those seasons, or quote seasons, but they were really
so
good. Then that
and
last couple,
how they did the
yeah.
Reichenbach Falls.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
But then that last couple of episodes never came back after that.
No.
Ray DeRozzo wants to know if any of us watched the Elvis movie last year. I did. Anybody else see it?
I did not.
I was expecting to hate it, and I ended up liking it a lot more than I thought I would.
I heard people say it was good.
And one of the main reasons why is Tom Hanks gives one of the greatest performances he's ever give, because you forget he's Tom Hanks. And I know some people have said, oh, it's a horrible performance, but not me. I'm like, look, I'm one of those guys where I can hear his voice and all I see is Tom Hanks. Like, I hated him as Mr. Rogers. I hated him as Walt Disney. I did not. I'm like, it's Tom Hanks. He's not doing anything. This movie, he was doing something, and he played one of the most sadistic, and this is the first time we've ever seen a movie really tackle Colonel Tom. Because if you've ever watched like the Kurt Russell Elvis movie or any of the Elvis movies and shows that came out when we were growing up, they left Tom out of there 9 times out of 10 because they were afraid he would sue the fuck out of them. Now that he's dead, this is the first time we've ever gotten most of the true fucking story from that point of view. And that's what I love about the movie, is they took it and it was kind of a fuck you to Tom, because it was like in the beginning of the movie, it begins like he thinks he's telling his story when it really isn't. It's Elvis's story at the end of the day, and he's the bad guy, right? Like that's kind of the whole point, is he doesn't realize how much of the bad guy he is throughout the movie. And he's caked in so much makeup, and he does the voice. And he must have actually did a lot of research this time out for the voice, because I know some spots where he does kind of dive back into Tom Hanks and I can tell it's his voice, but sometimes he sounds just like Colonel Tom Parker. And if you've seen some of the few interviews there are out there of him, it's pretty uncanny. So I will give him that. But as far as an actor goes, usually Tom Hanks just plays Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
But, Culture, did you see it or no?
I've seen the most of it. I was unimpressed, except for what you say. I mean, Tom Cruise did seem to be delivering a not
Tom Hanks, you mean, but yeah.
Yeah, Tom Hanks, excuse me. Tom Hanks.
I know, we've been talking so much Tom Cruise. I almost did it myself twice.
Tom Hanks did deliver a non-Tom Hanks performance. All right, which you're right, for a change that is different. I thought that what I saw of the film, it was very similar to like Philadelphia, if you remember that performance, or gosh, what was the other one that I thought he was
Crying Game
outside of himself? No,
I don't remember Tom Hanks in the Crying Game.
He wasn't in that film, but in Big, do you remember Big, where he was a younger? Like
Big's
a
okay.
kid?
I usually lean more towards Forrest Gump, but
Gump was so.
Forrest Gump was typecasting for him. Sorry.
Yeah, I felt like it.
I'm sorry.
Boom.
I think Clobby nailed that
from
one.
way downtown.
I
That's
give
a
him
3,
Forrest
folks.
Gump just because if you ever read the novel, Hanks literally sounds like he does in the novel.
I like the movie. I'm just kidding.
Because they wrote out the dialogue just like that's how he talks in the novel. It's written
Tom
out
Hanks
phonetically like that.
On the Graham Norton show in England, they asked him how did he come up with the voice, and there was the kid that was playing young Forrest was from Mississippi, and he just mimicked that kid's voice.
Yeah, because
he was doing all the drawls and all that stuff, and he says, "I'm not gonna." He's not gonna have to sound like me. He tells the director, "I have to sound like him."
Well, this is why I think it works, and I'm glad you brought that up, Tox, because the difference between his performance in that and Big is I don't think he paid enough attention to the kid in Big. Because even though he got nominated for that too, and everybody talks about that, I always go back to, and I love Big, don't get me wrong, but I always go back to that as an example as to what's wrong when anybody ever plays an adult in a kid's, or a kid in an adult's body. Right. They always regress. It's like, no, you're playing a 10, 11, 12-year-old. Why are you acting like you're 6?
Right.
Like that doesn't make any sense. And through a lot of that movie, Hanks is acting way under his age. Like the kid who played Hanks as a kid is more mature than he was. That's the problem I had. And it's the same thing with like the new Shazam movies.
Yeah,
and
that
that
one
kind of shit
pissed
too.
me off. I'm like, that kid's 17 now.
Yeah,
What
especially
fuck
the
are you
newest
doing?
one. That made no sense.
Even in the comics, they've been ruining real Captain Marvel, not Shazam. Where all of a sudden some idiot back in the 90s decided that when he turns into Captain Marvel after saying Shazam, he would act like Billy. Well, Billy's in there,
Yeah.
but he always was an adult when he turned into Captain Marvel.
Yeah, well, I
He
mean,
wasn't
and
a Solomon.
that's the thing is, I didn't mind him acting like a kid so much though. It was just that
I hate it, man.
like script or culture was just saying like exactly that. Like in the first film, okay, there's a little whatever because the kid's like 12, 13 or whatever in the first film. And now in this one, he's supposed to be like 16, 17. And what's his face, Zachary Levi or whatever, plays him the same way he does in the first film. It's like, no, dude, you should be a little bit more mature, a little bit more smarter. And I mean, they lean into it a little bit more. Don't get me wrong. I still liked the film a lot more than I thought I was going to, especially the performance from Midnight's Edge's own Helen Mirren, of course. But
it was not Jeff Johns, and Screw 52 did do that, but even before that, they were doing it as far back as the 90s. Someone mentioned it.
Yeah, let's get through some of these super chats because then we'll talk about because we got the Valiant raid. Thank you so much, guys, for being in here. Hit that like button, share out the link, let everybody know we're live. We're going to talk about the top 50 best action movies of all time and the top 10 most disappointing movies of 2023 so far, ranked by MovieWeb. Here in just a few minutes.
Tom does Toronto, my most disappointed film of the year.
Well, that's what happens when most of the show gets
comes up short,
cannibalized.
Oh.
We may have to. Maybe I'll give you one of these. Maybe I'll give you the top 10 disappointing movies of the year. How's that sound, Culture?
Oh no, it's fine. I didn't realize. I was like, wow, it's got like at least 2 more hours if that's what you're
It is a
doing.
little late. Yeah, it's later than I thought. Well, we didn't get started till a little late either.
There you go, Dr. Coffin. It was
So you can
Roy
have that
Thomas.
one. We'll save that one for your show. How's that sound?
Hey Tom, I'm happy when you guys take over my show. I don't ever seem to have a choice about 10 minutes in, so it's fine.
This mind intentionally left blank sends in another 5. Thank you so much. It says going to the theater is about the. Oh, we got this one already.
We
Thank
got
you
that
so
one,
much.
yeah.
I didn't mean to reread it, but thank
No,
you
it's-
again.
hey, it's a
Brandon,
good
the
one.
anime guy is here. How you doing, Brandon? Says, hey,
Brandon.
Tom and company. Too many are missing the point of Sound of Freedom. The stats for it are off the charts. Exactly. Yes, you see what I've been saying. The per screen dollar intake is insane. I love it. Yeah, and this is what I was arguing about. And look, nothing against Odin. Him and I are good buddies. It's nothing personal. But I think him, Valiant, and some other people are kind of overlooking some very interesting things when it comes to Sound of Freedom and when it comes to Mission Impossible and how they're playing right now in comparison. And that's the point I'm trying to get across is a lot of the crowd that made Top Gun 2 a big hit isn't going to Mission Impossible. Instead, they're going to Sound of Freedom. But it's not just Mission Impossible. They're not going to anything else either.
It's what made Maverick big.
That's my point.
America.
Exactly.
That's what made
45
Maverick
to
big.
55 demographic is very important right now because more of them go to movies than kids do. Paul Chatto on the show was 100% right. The millennials and Zoomers are just ignoring theaters. They're not going. And you know what? I didn't even think about it until he said it. Because I have noticed there's not so many annoying little fucks in the theaters anymore.
You think it's because they don't have the attention span anymore?
I think it's partially that, and it's just even though a lot of these movies are being made for them, movies are not their thing. Like this is kind of like with my kid. I noticed this early on with him. Movies are just not his thing. He's into video games. He's into tech. He's into all this other stuff. If he's going to watch a movie, it's so he can fall asleep. Right? Like he just, he likes quick videos. He'll watch some TikTok or YouTube stuff. But yeah, no, it's just one of those things. Like, no, Megs, no, not all younger people. You're not that much younger than us, are you? I mean, maybe like 10 years at the most. But I'm talking about generalized. It's more
a lot
so
younger
the
than me.
Zoomers.
Max looks 21.
She looks 21. That's true. So we'll just assume she's 21.
I need to actually get on.
She's
and see
old
the
enough
chat
to
and see
vote.
if she's
That's all I
screaming at
know.
me now.
But anyhow, I think that people are overlooking this, and that's the other thing. Like I was saying too, is that yes, even though Mission Impossible has been out since Monday, it's only made $80 million in the U.S.
So we talked about that Thursday a little bit. What I noticed, so Tuesday it did $7 million.
Yeah.
Wednesday it did $8 million. And Thursday it did $8 million. All right.
My point is, it should have done the 80 over the weekend, and we should be sitting with 100
it's
or
done
120 million dollar
it did
box
$80
office.
million over a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And you can throw
weekend.
Monday in there because they had the premium screen showings on Monday
So
night
6
as well.
days. It did $80 million over 6 days.
Many theaters do $5 on Tuesdays, and they still did.
Now,
if you go see it
Sound of
before
Freedom-
3:30, it's 30% off too.
Sound of Freedom was out not only 6 days earlier. Okay. but on half the screens than Indiana Jones or Mission Impossible, and has done $88 million. And it's still on over 1,000 to 2,000 screens less than all the big movies. That's my point. And it's going up and up and up. And some people are saying, well, this isn't like big. No, this is a big fucking deal.
It made 37% more this week than it did last week.
Yep.
When I'm looking at the numbers, because I was getting that together for the Monday Meltdown and stuff we're doing on Comics Channel tomorrow, it was the only one out there that I ever remember seeing that in the second, third, fourth week, it's doing more.
Mm-hmm.
And it did
plus 413%
average
in the theaters. It got an extra.
It's going to get bigger.
Exactly. Yeah.
$85 million for that film. You know why? This is the kind of stuff that people care about.
And then compare that to Mission Impossible. It's not even doing the same average in theaters.
I know
this is what I'm fucking saying to people.
I know.
They're like, oh, it's not. No.
Yeah.
Bullshit. Look at the average. It's making more money per theater with less theaters. This is what I've been fucking saying to people. Like, they're not even paying attention to the hard math. And I get it. I get it. Some people are trying to make some fucking excuses for Mission Impossible because they like it because it's not overly woke and it's not all these other things. That's great. But nobody's going to see any movies that Hollywood's making right now.
1,000 theaters. Okay, so you add the 1,000 theaters to that. You're still averaging around $6,000 a theater. So if you spread it out more, it's the same number of people going, whatever you say from there. But you can't really make that argument 100% because if they had it in more theaters, would more people be going?
I think so. I think I think if it had the exact same amount of theaters as all the top performing films, or what you consider in quotations like Indiana Jones and Mission Impossible, I think Sound of Freedom would be the #1 movie in this country right now. Hands down, end of discussion. It would have beat Mission Impossible. That's my fucking point.
They don't want that. Disney, what kind of egg do they have on their face? All these movies that they put out that have lost money. Disney has not made any money this year, right, Culture, if you're still here? They have not made any money this year on any of their film.
Disney has probably only cleared money on Guardians of the Galaxy, but that's debatable.
And yeah, because they've lost way more than that.
In total, all their films they put out.
In total, by the end of this year, they will be over. By the end of the calendar year, they'll be over 1.1 billion to 1.2 billion in red for the calendar year.
So the one movie is going to make a ton of money. They sat on for 5 years and sold for peanuts.
Oh, this thing's way in the black already. Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Miles
for the people who bought it, because they didn't have to sink in any of the production costs.
Even if Disney had released it themselves and put in 30, 40, 50 million dollars in advertising,
it
which
probably
Angel Studios didn't even have.
Yeah. And this is word of mouth. I mean, they're going to the churches.
Oh, it's word of mouth.
Yeah. And Hollywood the Royal Hollywood has always underestimated the power of the church in this country. They always have. It's always
what
strong.
Is that church made up of? The 45 to 55 or bigger, actually more than that.
Well, there's a lot of kids now in the 20 to 30s that are going to, there's more people going to church. They're trying to figure something out, trying to find something.
Because the meaning that's being provided, the hollow meaning that's being provided in the world talks, and I know you know what I'm talking about. They can't find it. They aren't capable of it. So they're going back to church to find meaning in their life.
I've got all this stuff
Take me back
on
to
demand
church,
right
baby.
here. We're the farthest we've been out, all this stuff and everything, and I'm still empty inside.
Yeah.
Look, I'll tell you another thing about Angel
Touch grass,
Studios.
folks.
They made it very easy for a lot of us to see this movie. Full disclosure. Like Andre can't see the movie because it's not released internationally. They're going to be opening it in Mexico, I believe, this next week.
So do we need to do a GoFundMe to get Andre a ticket to Mexico
No,
City?
what he did, I reached out to Angel Studios, and I was lucky enough that I got a hold of him earlier in the hubbub because they got right back to me real quick, and I explained them the situation, who we were, what's going on. They were able to give us screeners so Andre could see it.
Nice.
And everybody else that I've given the email to has been lucky enough, it seems like, to be able to get their hands on a screener now to see it.
The pay it forward thing?
That's another thing people are
screeners. If you get a screener and you pay it forward? I think that's why I would do it. Say, hey, we got the pay.
Oh, that's what
times so
Valiant
somebody else
did.
is in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing.
I'll buy more tickets.
I'm just saying, like, they're making it available to us as reviewers, which is something the studios would never do. I've hit the studios up for shit. They never answer me back.
Right. Well,
I mean,
because they know you're going to destroy it because it's crap. This movie is not crap.
Well, it's just a digital copy is all. You punch in this code. It's basically like the same way when I got Bill and Ted. But the only reason I got that was just because I had the interview and I'd been, bugging Ed Sullivan for a year, and he just put me in touch with their P&A people or whatever, and they just sent me the screener link, and that was it. But that was the only 2 times I've ever gotten screeners in this entire, time I've been doing this job, really. Outside, that's not true. Chris Gore sent me a screener for his thing. But I know the studios, they don't give a fuck, but they actually hate us. Tox is not totally wrong. Like, dude, they do not want our opinions. Yep. Like, I know they actively hate us inside
You do
Disney.
not drink their Kool-Aid.
Because, and the proof is in the pudding in our interviews, because we can say this now because he's out of the fire and into the, working for Momberg himself. But Zub was told not to do the interview with us. And he said, why? The people higher ups at Disney said, no, Midnight's Edge is a racist, misogynistic channel.
Right.
We got the same response when we tried to talk to somebody over at Pixar. So don't tell me they don't know who we are. That's their opinion of us. And they know who Doomcock is, believe you me.
Well, Doomcock could not have a microphone and be broadcasting and you could hear him.
And they know who Gary and all these guys are. Trust me, Gary gets a lot more access than we do. Gary's been on sets and stuff, but I can't talk about a lot of that stuff because he's, it's his own personal shit. But yeah,
right.
But he's also close. He was closer for a while there to where it was a little easier for him too. I mean, I've gotten invited to certain things, but I live in the middle of goddamn nowhere too. So, I mean, I've gotten offers for certain screeners, but it's usually for shit you guys have never heard of and never will, and that's why I don't even bother because it's like oddball weird shit. We're talking like low caliber
Troll
streaming
75.
Stuff. Not even. I wish it was Troll 75. I'd watch it.
I would too. Speaking of which, I got to dip because I got to get ready for my show.
Yeah, he's got a show coming up here, and I'll head over there in a little bit.
Excellent.
And the show is connected to that.
Oh, cool. Thanks. I will see all of you there. I hope we're going to have a lot of fun, and I'm going to do what Tom was going to do, which is we're going to talk about the 10 most disappointing movies of 2023 so far. Yeah. I think there's probably more than 10, though, Tom. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm sure. I don't even know if I agree with the list. I didn't even look at the list. Toxie sent me that list.
Oh, well, this is going to be
what we're going to go through is real quickly.
Yeah. There's some movies I haven't even heard of
the
on
top
that
50
list.
best action films of all time. We'll see how this sums up here from Variety. But
sounds great. I will see you all later.
We got some super chats to get through first, but yeah.
Go get them. Love you guys. Peace out.
Take care, Culture. All right, we got Toddzilla. Oh, go ahead. Somebody else have to go? I thought somebody else was going to say something.
I just said body culture.
Oh, okay. Toddzilla says, Tom might know they remastered TNG with 5.1 sound in 1080 or 4K, but they never did DS9, Voyager, Enterprise to my recollection. No. And there's a reason for that. And it was 1080. They did TNG 4 from the negatives with a new 5.1 surround soundtrack. They didn't alter TNG at all. TOS, they did 2 different versions. They did the new CGI effects and they did with the original effects. Now, DS9 and Voyager and Enterprise, the reason I bring up the effects is that's the problem. And Enterprise, actually, no, that's not incorrect. Enterprise does have a 1080 because that came out in the time of HD TV. So that one does have a Blu-ray. In fact, Robert Meyer worked on that one as well. But DS9 and Voyager, there's a problem. The problem is they are stuck in a lot of video because they were the early days of CGI. So they'd have to go back to the original files. Now, I've been told by a couple people that I trust, and I don't know if Robert's ever talked about this or if he knows much about it, but I'm not going to say who has told me about this, but there are supposedly some people who worked on the show that have all the original files. But what they have to be able to do is find a way to get those files into a new program, because that's the thing, is it's going to be incompatible with any of new stuff they work with now. In fact, that is part of the problem I've heard is they don't even know if they can open some of these older files, if they can even get them to work with newer stuff. So first of all, they're going to have to be able to get into these old files and then find a way to upconvert or remaster them somehow into 1080 or 4K, And that, my friends, is where the problem lies. Now, we're getting pretty close with certain AI and upconverts things where this could be more of a possibility in the near future, and that's probably what will happen. But unfortunately for DS9 and Voyager, they are stuck with video masters right now, mainly because of the compositing that was done with computers and the inability to use the original files, at least at this point in time. That could change, but that's the way things are right now. Now, otherwise, I've heard of some upconvert things that people are doing, which I'm not a fan of. But things are getting a little bit better. I've seen some pretty impressive upconverted stuff, but it's normally it's the only things I've seen upconverted that I think are done well is animated stuff, not live action video. But if they can use the original films and scan that, and then maybe upconvert the effects, that's a possibility. But I'm not even sure because Voyager was DS9 that came first, Klobby, or was it Voyager?
DS9 became Voyager. Yeah,
DS9 I think might have been shot on film still, but I'm not sure about Voyager. Voyager might have been shot completely on video. I'm not 100% on
Voyager was the beginning of that new UPN network.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. And I don't know when they switched over. I'd actually have to do the research.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you get to Enterprise, though, that's full HD video by the time they get to Enterprise. So, but yes, we got a few more super chats here. I'm going to try and get through, and then we're going to get to this topic. Hopefully, Eric Winberg says, "If culture is taking requests more than words," he just left. Maybe you can request it on his show. I'll tell him he's supposed to sing that. Parrot has Steve Martin or Peter Sellers. Who was better? Oh, Peter Sellers. If you mean,
you have to ask
at the Pink Panther itself. Peter Sellers.
Peter Sellers is the only Pink Panther. I love Steve Martin, but those movies are a joke.
Steve Martin is a better banjo player than he is a comedian.
You're not
I
wrong.
love Steve Martin, but
I don't know.
He's
Steve
good.
Martin's
Him
great,
and
but
his,
he's not the same. Yeah,
him and his Martin Short live show that they did a couple years ago. Phenomenal. Yeah,
it was supposed to be really good. Magitech Mag says Tox.
Mags. Oh look, Tickle Trunk Mags.
Sorry,
Thanks, Mr.
VR
Tickle
stream
Trunk's
held us hostage after 3 hours. Some had to resort to cannibalism.
Oh
this
my!
happens.
Oh my!
Oh my!
I don't.
Then we got Randall Orser who
wrong
says,
with
"Have you seen the trailer for the new Nick Cage movie? It's called The Retirement Plan." No, I haven't. Nick beats the crap out of Ron Perlman. Oh, good. I think we both said that.
I want to watch that.
I'd watch that for 2 hours.
Southern Belle says Baz Luhrmann is usually a genius in his musicals. I'm not a big Baz Luhrmann fan. That's why I wasn't sure if I was going to like Elvis. One of the reasons why I liked Elvis is because it was one of the least Baz Luhrmann movies Baz Luhrmann's ever made.
That's
because the parts I think that culture didn't like are the parts earlier on where it is Baz Luhrmann-y, but as the movie goes on, it gets less and less like that, and it feels more like a biopic. That's where I enjoyed it more. But yeah. But I hear you. Yeah, he's got his fans. Walter Tomaszewski says, "Anyone remember Burnt Offerings, 1976?" Barely. I know the title. I'm trying to remember the movie though.
Just the title.
that was sweet.
Trying to remember. Nothing coming to mind offhand. Southern Belle says Sound of Freedom added 313 theaters this week. That it did.
Yeah.
Lester San Jose says better late than never. Hope y'all are well. Have you all seen some of the clips of Miro Savino's venture into Sound of Freedom topic matter? MM isn't talking on her. MM isn't talking on her.
Mainstream media.
Oh no, I haven't seen this yet. I'll have to take a look. I'll have to look into this.
Yeah, she's probably not being treated well either.
She's probably. I think she's probably for it, considering the shit that she supposedly went through with Mr. Weinstein. I imagine.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'll look into that, Lester. Thanks for bringing that to my attention. We got ActionCom who says if Sound of Freedom was made by mainstream Hollywood, Ballard would have been portrayed as a man slowly losing his family, his mind, and his soul. The forces of decadence being too much for the family religion to keep at bay. Well, this movie was
don't forget alcoholism. He would have been alcoholic too.
Well, I mean, I think it's more so that they'd be just treating this movie differently in the media. That's the thing. But Hollywood had a chance at releasing this movie and they didn't. That's kind of the kicker of the story. Megs then comes in with another one and says, "Don't worry, Tom. I know y'all have adopted me, even though I have the millennial cooties." Well, it's just a matter of I know you're not all bad. I try not to judge everybody by their
Hey,
pews.
Mags, get off my lawn.
Yeah, get off his lawn. He just raked it. Let's quickly go through what Variety claims, and this is actually a pretty new article. They just put this out the other day because shit was so slow they had nothing to talk about because the strikes were all that was going on. The top 50 best action movies of all time. Now, we can't spend all the time in the world talking about every one of these, but we can go through them pretty quickly here because, culture likes to cram me in like a sandwich. Number 50, The Spy Who Loved Me. You know what? I've never seen this one.
I love it, but it's not even one of the top Bond. I mean, for me, and maybe somebody disagrees.
It's not even a top 50 Bond movie, and there's only like 15 of those.
I do like it, but I mean, I have a soft spot for it. But as far as one of the greatest action movies of all time,
nope.
According to Variety,
there's going to be a lot of ones on this list. I noticed that I haven't even seen.
I'd say first, let's see who's actually. This is from Owen Gleiberman, Peter DeBarge, William Earl, and Todd Gilchrist. Now, Owen Gleiberman's the only one that I know.
Representation on that panel.
There's absolutely no female representation at all. You're good point. 49 is Top Gun Maverick. This is a new one. No surprise there. A sequel that's better than the original in most people's opinions.
I'm surprised how low it is.
Yes, culture wouldn't like that.
I agree. This should probably be higher up in the list.
I think it's a top 25 action film.
I think they only put it on the list because they had to put it on the list.
Yeah, you're probably right.
You're right.
This is not really an action film so much. It has action in it.
It's a suspense thriller.
Suspense. I mean, it's
the
a good
Fugitive
movie.
movie kind of made it more of an action piece than the TV show was.
The TV show, because it had so little time to, to tell its story. I love it. I think it's really good, and I hate remakes, but
yeah.
But
besides
the
Mission Impossible,
Nielsen version was better.
But besides Mission Impossible,
version was better.
It was probably arguably one of the few movies where the shows where the movie is actually more popular or well known than the television show is now.
Well,
Wrongfully Accused, much better film.
Okay, I hear you. I haven't seen this one yet.
Vanishing Point, long time ago. I have it.
There you go.
We got Hero from 2002.
Okay, I can go with that.
Sure. Got Rambo First Blood Part 2. How is this not higher?
Yeah, that's stupid.
Like, how is this? Like, this almost defines blockbuster action right here. I mean,
All right, these guys are all get off my lawn age. That's what it's got to be.
I don't know. Some of the stuff they leave off of this list makes you question that, though.
Yeah, this is kind of the thing. I'm kind of rushing through this because I have a feeling we'll have more where we're like, where's this? Where's that? 44, Day of the Jackal from 1973. At least it's the original, not the remake one, I guess.
Yeah, okay. So all right, they're doing the original. That's fine.
All right, then we got the Bourne Identity from 2002. Okay, all right.
Yep,
they're popular. I never watched them, but I know they're big. So
yeah.
That was the original small car chase scene. Now they've all done. Yeah. Well, actually, that was the.
I thought that was the Italian Job.
The Italian Job was the original one in the 70s.
Yeah. But that one was not too far off. Then you got Faster Pussycat Kill Kill. All right.
It's all Pussycat.
A little exploitation. All right. Belongs.
That's not cats. Okay.
Yeah, this is too low.
Here we go.
This is
too
way
low.
too low.
Oh,
yeah.
Warriors.
This is an all-time classic film.
Yes.
I mean, you're talking with this film. You're like talking top 25 of all time kind of.
It's got to be top 20,
film.
top 15.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, good lord.
Yeah, I definitely put in the top 25 somewhere at least.
Yeah. Indeed.
When at the time that it came out, what it was talking about. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
This is actually one of the possible movies we're going to talk about on A-rated B movies next. Believe it or not.
Oh, good. That's a good.
This is one script brought up. The Raid. I haven't seen this, but of course, this is one that influenced a lot of films.
Is that a Jackie Chan?
No, it's this was the one that the Raid 2 actually came out and was bigger or whatever, but the Die Hard like premise influenced a lot of stuff like Judge Dredd or Dredd, I should say.
I mean, when it comes to action films, kung fu type movies have their own subcategory.
They should be in their own subgenre. I agree.
This is not theatrical. It's a great movie, but it was a TV
film, exactly. But it was, I believe, released theatrically outside of the U.S. Quabi.
Could be.
But I'm not. Would you consider it an action film or more of a suspense?
There is some action, maybe more of a suspense film, but it is. I mean, the action's very well done. I mean, it's.
I never would have thought of putting this on this list. That film on this list. No,
I hear you.
Yeah. And same thing with this film.
Is this
Yeah,
an
I don't
action movie?
exactly. I mean, it's kind of
Suspense
billed
thriller.
as an
That's
action
what both
film.
of those films are, suspense thrillers.
Yeah.
They are not
Inception,
action
I have a
films.
hard time. Yeah, I don't necessarily see it as more of an action film.
Duel's
as I
almost
do.
like a psychological thriller in a sense. As
It
well,
is.
isn't it?
It's
yeah, that's what I was.
Where do you
getting
think
at.
Christine came from?
Yeah. Oh well.
Well, it's kind of in that
Yeah.
sub kind of genre area of Jaws, right? It's not exactly a horror film. It's not exactly an action film. It's kind of its own thing in a weird way. Duel kind of falls in that weird category too, because that was kind of the whole thing. Jaws is in
Right.
Spielberg's eyes his sequel to Duel.
It's a story you couldn't tell today. It had to be back then, which is kind of it's dated in the best of ways.
Yeah.
Duel.
And then Inception, yeah, we were just arguing about that.
Right.
I don't agree with that. Once Upon a Time in
Never
China
seen
Part
this
2.
one. Yeah.
It's Jet Li one. I vaguely remember the first one. I mean, these were ones I think Tarantino brought in after the fact.
Yeah, he liked
Well,
those.
they just do Once Upon a Time in the West in China.
How does Casino Royale get in
Wow.
here?
I don't know. It's an okay. I don't even like any of the James
No.
Bond movies personally, but it's an okay action
No.
movie. But it doesn't belong in there. I mean,
Oh,
a lot of
James
people
Bond
like it
is
though.
Suspense thriller. It's not
We only got 50, and how many of the Bond movies can make
There's
it
a
on
lot
this
of action
list?
in this one, but yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
Well, this is more like most people call it the Bourne Bond anyway. The Black Pirate. Now, this
The
is one I
Racist Pirate? What the hell?
don't know.
What
Douglas
else?
Fairbanks
Douglas
movies.
Fairbanks is a classic. Yeah.
Huh.
Can't say
Okay.
I've seen it in forever, but
I guess I would have put Robin Hood instead of that. His
I mean, you
Robin
have to
Hood.
think of the genre at that time and the practical
Right.
effects and stuff they were doing. Okay.
I got the
Maybe.
Brown Pirate.
yes.
There you
There
go.
it is.
Then we got Fast Five.
What do you
Okay.
get a name
Fast
Mexican
food.
Iron Pirates?
How is it, are they really action films? I mean,
I guess there's that. Yeah, that counts. I mean, I
I
don't like not my bag,
guess.
but not my bag, but they are action films.
yeah. And of course, you got to have your independent one. Run,
Of course,
run,
that no
run,
one's
run.
ever heard of, or well, I've heard of
Well,
this.
I remember it. It's one that's popular. Yeah. It's.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, there you
Commando. Little Arnold Schwarzenegger finally showing up on the list.
It's good on the list. I mean,
Yeah.
you
I
can't,
should be on all this list. Should just be all my movies.
it's lovable.
With Alyssa Milano when she was smart.
Ah, yeah.
Yes. Oh well.
Don't talk that way about my daughter. I will kill you. Kill you dead.
Oh,
Here
this
we
is
go.
too low.
Dirty
Come on, man.
Dozen. Yeah.
What?
If it's an action film, I mean, I guess it is sort of. It's a great movie. One of the greats.
Yeah.
I consider it more of a war film, though. But yeah.
Yeah, but I hear you.
I mean, there's action in it, but it's like, if
Yeah,
you're
it's
going to do
not
this,
really an
then
action film. so much.
Midway is an action film.
That's what I
Columbus
mean.
Day
Yeah.
is an action film.
That's a very good point.
Saving Private Ryan.
That's
is
what
an
I'm
action
saying.
film.
Exactly. Like
Yeah,
I,
these
the
guys
war
don't know
films
what
are in
they're
their own
doing.
Apocalypse
subgenre.
Now. I mean,
The
you
only
know,
ones that cross over would be like Rambo, right? Because Rambo's
Yes,
arguably
yes.
less about the war aspect than Stallone just
Right.
being Rambo.
This is a war
right?
film.
Yeah. And then we got Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol.
No
I
comment.
liked this one, but I liked the one I think after it more, if I'm not mistaken. Or
I mean, these were the stunt he did. This is
You
the
can tell the difference.
most
Maybe this is the one
impressive
I
stunt he's
like.
ever done. Yeah.
Maybe this is the one I like. I like the one where the first time Lane is in it. That's my favorite one. I think that's the fourth or the fifth one. I
Maybe
can't
it is
remember.
Ghost Protocol.
Yeah, it might be that one.
Oh, Foxy
Foxy
Brown.
Brown. Little
That's
Pam
Yeah.
Greer. I'll let it slide.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not an action film, but
She's basically lady
Shaft.
Shaft. Yeah,
I'm talking about Chad, ready? All right.
but we
Shut
can
your-
talk about
shut your
Shaft.
mouth.
This is
Oh
a
fuck
piece of garbage.
this movie!
Just keep going. Just
oh
keep
my
going.
fucking god! What is it with
Keep
people?
going.
I hate
I'm going to
this
say it
freaking
now
movie.
real quick, though, Tox. This is the beginning of the woke, guys. I don't give a shit what anybody
Stop.
says. You can like the
Yeah,
movie
you're
for
right.
what it is.
Yeah.
This is the time when Mad Max was put in the literal back seat in his own fucking movie.
Piece of shit. He was a hood ornament in his own goddamn movie for 30 minutes.
Oh, sorry.
Piece of shit.
Police Story? Okay. Yeah, Jackie Chan film. All right.
Yeah,
I
it's
could pick
fine.
some better Jackie. Like,
Respectable. Yeah,
I'd rather have Drunken Master on here, but okay.
sure.
Point Blank. Okay.
Never
Well-
watched it, but never seen it, but I heard it.
Yeah. I
I've
can
seen
see
it,
that.
and it's surfing, and they do a lot of heist type stuff. Okay,
Yeah, it works.
it's all right.
Arguably, Keanu has
Not
much
really.
better action films, though. This
He
is
does.
Oh yeah,
He does.
any one of his John Wick films and
exactly
the,
like
yeah,
John
and-
Wick's
and
or
the
Matrix.
Matrix
Yeah.
films would.
Yeah,
This
they're
does
very-
not belong on this list.
They're very,
I-
very
I
reckless
do
with their
have-
parameters.
Okay, go ahead, Andy. What?
I do have the Johnny Utah rookie card.
Nice.
Oh wow. There you go.
United.
this is-
Why is this on
Why
here?
is this on this list?
This is
That's
Because they're
disrespectful.
placating.
for fuck's sake.
They're
Action
placating.
movie?
This does not belong on this.
Well, the
fucking
action
list.
movie was this plane crashed in the field in
Oh, there you
Pennsylvania
go.
and killed people.
I mean,
This
Yeah, that okay,
is
great.
not an action
action
flick.
movies
This,
are
No.
flippy with
this
chases
is
and
It's
bullshit.
a biopic. It is a
This
biopic of
Lord,
some
that's
people
terrible.
who tried to save their own lives.
Okay,
This
we'll
is
get
a
past
classic.
that.
Here we go.
Now we're actually getting to something that should be on the list. Okay,
that's a
I agree
classic.
with this.
Maybe even higher.
I think
Okay,
Klobby
I can
has
see
one of those
Gladiator.
hats.
He probably does.
Beanies. I think Klobby has one.
Yeah, I'm sure somewhere.
Gladiator. Okay, fine.
All
Yeah.
right.
I don't know this one at all. Wages of
It's a war
Fear.
film.
It's
I don't know
another
this one.
war film. It is a war
It's a
film.
war film.
Pretty sure.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Okay,
Heat.
here we go. Here we go.
Yes,
All right.
Michael Mann.
Yeah. Tough to
Yes,
argue
talk
with
about
that.
a guy who knows how to tell an action
top 10
story.
action film to me.
Right. It fits
I
the
agree.
category. But they were barely getting into the category with many of these. So yeah, and there you go.
I mean, some of the
Yeah.
firearms channels that I watch have broken down this film and the firearms that are in them and how they were used. That's
Wow.
how much of an impact this film has had. So, yeah.
Wow.
Well, it's just a
This is top
badass
10.
movie. I mean,
It's
you've
top
got
10.
the guy at the top of his game who made Miami Vice and shit. I mean, fuck.
Val Kilmer did a great, all of them. Yeah.
Yeah, the cast is at the top of their game. That's my point. Yeah.
Love,
Okay,
yes.
crouching target.
love
I
it.
love that you can see the
Yeah.
wires.
Got the wires in that scene. I'm Lee Mubai. Don't watch the stupid English dubbed version of it that came on the DVD.
No, you need to watch the other.
It's awful.
That is one of my favorites.
Oh, here we go. The
That's
Wild
pretty
Bunch.
cool. I mean,
It's a western, but
yeah.
all right. It kind of
Any movie
breaks
with
the
action in
mold.
it,
Still a
they
war
use.
movie.
A movie, yeah,
It is kind of more of a war movie. You're right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. Any movie that has action in it, they put on the list.
I mean, the things like Johnny Got Your Gun and These Are the Days of Our Best Days of Our Lives, or whatever, war movies that didn't
Yeah,
have
their
action in it,
criteria
right?
here sucks.
Right. Yeah.
It's terrible.
Ben-Hur. Okay.
An action movie,
All right.
Bible movie,
Action movie.
a Bible
Ben-Hur,
movie.
okay.
All right,
And
here
you
we
can
go.
see
Why
it's
is
way
this so
low.
fucking low?
Why is that? That's ridiculous. That it's
This
that
is top 5. What the fuck are you doing,
Yeah,
guys?
that's
This
a true
is
action
battling
science
for
fiction
number one, in my
right?
opinion.
This is definitely top 5.
I can
Easy.
respect that. Yeah, this is ridiculous.
I mean, the
17.
CGI and stuff that they did, it was. Whoa.
Pure excitement, science fiction action.
Terminator 1 is a psychological thriller. Terminator 2 is the definition of a fucking action movie.
Right.
Yep.
It literally has action set pieces.
He blows
Right.
this guy up multiple
of the-
times, and then he just keeps coming back. It never stops.
The epitome of the big budget action film.
Yeah, this would be
Exactly.
number one, number two for me.
At least top 5.
Great
like I
movie,
said.
great western. I don't know why it's on this list.
Not
Here's
on this
another
list.
one why, it's not very action oriented.
No, yeah,
right?
a lot of downtime.
Yeah,
It's a lot of,
these guys are
This is a
morons.
psychological thriller.
Yes.
Fucking Christ. What
Great
the hell?
movie.
Okay, Hard Boiled. I know
Hard
the
boiled
film.
was
that one.
pretty good. Yeah,
All right.
but I wouldn't put it this high.
Okay,
No, this
here's
is
the one where I was
one of my all-time
surprised.
favorite movies right here. I love
I was
it.
gonna say this is why I was
Yeah.
like, okay, why is this movie not on here? Okay, well they got it way high.
It's
Okay.
it needs to be somewhere high, so that's fine. I love it. It's truly a
All right,
classic.
But this
It's a
fuck-
classic film.
but they got
It's
two
an
of
action
Flynn's.
film for the day.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was a swashbuckling action film. This
Here's
is
my
classic.
number one.
Here we go.
Great
Now
stuff.
my
we're
number one and
talking.
number two.
This is definitely in my top 5 for sure.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's Kill
Yes.
Bill Volume 1, an action
Love it.
movie. Kill Bill Volume 2
Volume
is
2?
not.
As a psychological
action
thriller.
It is more of a western. Exactly. It's more like a
Mhm.
Sergio Leone movie. That's
Right.
the thing. And that's why I'm glad he split them up, because I'm like, dude, how did you not see this early on? These are definitely two different movies.
So when she pulls
Very
the
different.
eye out of that, the other eye out,
Yeah.
that
Well, and I figured it
was
out.
hilarious.
Yeah.
One of the last times I watched them back to back, what it was, I'm like, dude, the reason these movies are the way they are is the first movie is her telling the story, so it's all exaggerated, right? It's all exaggeration, because you even get it in the second film when
Oh, that battle
He's
with
like-
Lucy Liu and her.
he's
group.
like,
Oh
she even
my
went,
God.
she even
God.
cut down the crazy 88 and all that shit, and he's like, is it really 88 of them? And he's like, nah, but they just think it sounds cool. That's the whole point, is she was exaggerating that story to us. And when we get to the second film, that's being told in real time.
Right.
So we're
Right.
seeing the actual story play out in reality, to where it's more
Well,
realistic.
from
So that's why I love
from
that
a
he split them up.
film standpoint, I think this is one of the greatest
Yeah.
films.
Great.
You know, when you're talking original and sequel, I think it's one of the greatest films. They did it right. This film you could have made 3 hours and stuffed everything. You right? or tried to stuff everything in. He broke it up the way that you're supposed to. There was the beginning of this, as you say, from her
Literally 2 films,
dream,
yeah.
and then the other one. Yeah, and these films are Tarantino at his best.
Well, it's not even so much. She is literally narrating the first half of the film, right?
Yes.
Like the whole first part is her narration. The second half, her narration ends. In fact, Tarantino does it brilliantly because when you're seeing this movie in the theater, when she's in that fucking grave, you're like, how the fuck is she going to get out of this?
That was
exactly.
You're like, oh my God, because I was sitting there on the edge of my literal seat, and the way he shot it with the sound and everything, I'm just like, oh my God, what the fuck is going on here?
Knows
How's
how
she
to
going to
make
get
a
out of
film.
this?
He knows that.
And then he
knows
cuts to a fucking flashback, and you're like, what the hell?
Yes. Yes.
But it all bleeds perfectly right into where it needs to go, and you're like, oh, and this is what
He's a
makes
storyteller,
a grand
Incredible
storyteller.
He's a
Because the whole
storyteller,
thing
and
with
that's
what do
we're
you do if
missing
you got to
there.
punch somebody who's this close, and she does the whole thing, you know?
amazing.
Well, that's
and you
the
put it all
whole
together.
Bruce Lee
It's the Karate
1-inch
Kid
punch.
moment, exactly.
Right.
Yeah,
that all that stuff. Karate Kid, one punch, make punch 1 inch. Bruce Lee, all that stuff. That is a tenet of martial arts, and it shows that she was taught by a master.
and I love that whole thing. I'm sorry,
We could
the
talk about these two
Tarantino-
films
yeah.
forever.
Yeah, we got to keep moving. Goldfinger, here you go. Here's an
Love it.
actual Bond
So-
movie now.
It is a great movie. So I mean, yeah.
Not
It's
my
a great
favorite
movie,
of the ones
but
I've
I
seen,
would
but
not
it's
put
good.
this in an action movie.
I mean, I wouldn't put it in an action.
Bond,
I wouldn't
well,
either. I wouldn't
Bond
either.
does belong in action genre.
He is an
I'll
action
give it-
genre. Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, so it's just my bias, I guess, on that. I wouldn't have any Bond film in the top 50 action films that are out there.
I got you.
That's
Well,
fair.
a spy film is a spy film. Because
Right.
there's supposed to
Yeah.
be things figured out. And
If action's a genre, this doesn't necessarily belong. What you say, it's a spy film, right? Andy?
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
then
it,
so
it
would be
depends on
Mission
how you
Impossible.
define
though.
action. If you're playing loose and with it, okay.
I
Then I
would
get
argue that Bond has always been treated, though, the same way we've treated modern action films for years. Bond kind of laid that groundwork. So that's
So
why I
from
would
a movie
consider
standpoint,
Bond.
correct. But from someone who
Yeah.
read the books before they saw the
Oh,
films,
that's a different argument.
totally different story. Okay.
Here we
Yes.
go. Here's
Yes.
top 10. Speed.
Great
Pop
movie.
quiz,
I hate
hot
this
shot. What's in your top 10? Well, this should be in their top 10 because Speed
Speed's a
is
great
the
movie.
best Die Hard ripoff ever fucking made.
I really, it's one of the
It
best.
is.
Yep.
I don't like this film.
Oh, you don't? Oh, wow.
No,
okay.
I cannot stand this film.
Oh, I love it. I love
And it's
it.
all because of Sandra Bullock.
Oh, that's too bad. I can see
Yeah,
it. She can.
but that's
I can
just
see
me.
she. Yeah.
But from the action scenes and stuff, things from this, it nonstop moves all the time.
Well, me, it's
I
Dennis
agree.
Hopper and Keanu Reeves
Dennis
and
Hopper's
Jeff Daniels
phenomenal
that
in
make
this,
this movie.
right.
Dennis This is probably one of Dennis Hopper's greatest performances ever.
I agree with that. I agree with that. It 100% probably his best performance I've ever seen, including when he did with Peter Fonda.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. He's really invested in this shit, and he
Yeah,
does
he
a
was selling
great
it.
job
He was good.
convincing you who he is. It's like, and it's Dennis Hopper. Like Dennis Hopper.
Blue
But by
Velvet.
halfway
Plays the
through this
crazy-
movie,
yeah, he
you're
plays
like,
the
oh my God, he's kind of, the closest I can think of is when De Niro was in Cape Fear. Because remember how people were just like, oh my God, like that's what I felt like when I was like, oh my God, that's Dennis. That's fucking Koopa. The year before, that's fucking Koopa. And now he's doing this. Holy shit. And he's giving fucking, what's his face in Die Hard a run for his money. What the hell's it? Al Rickman, thank you. Yeah. I'm like, holy
Well, I
shit.
mean,
like, yeah.
What's the difference? They're actors.
No,
This
but
is he is a professional.
oh,
actor.
absolutely. From top to
And
bottom.
Dennis Hopper, professional.
By the
actor.
way,
I saw him in a movie called My Science Project,
I remember that.
where and he was phenomenal in that film. So, but,
Well, hell, look at him in True Romance.
That was great in that. Yeah.
You're right,
Oh,
Yeah.
that's probably actually, I take that back. That's his best performance of all time.
Space
Yeah.
Truckers,
You did
Space
mention-
Truckers,
you
hands
alluded-
down.
you
Space
alluded-
Truckers is great, but yes, True Romance, especially him and
Yeah.
oh my fucking God. You want to watch one of the greatest scenes in motion picture history? Not just in a movie, but motion picture history. The scene between him and Christopher Walken. Oh
yeah.
my
Unreal.
fucking God.
You
You want
couldn't
to
make
see
that today.
two of the greatest, not just because of yeah, you're right, because of the subtext of it and the shit that's said in it, but just the way those two, and I'm not even talking about what's being said.
I know. They're
I'm talking
brilliant.
about just
They're
the
brilliant.
way you've got, it's like two jazz musicians playing with each other. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh my God, this is fucking music here. These guys are amazing together. I mean, I want to see these two do a movie together. Like, It is great. I mean, just go
Dinger
look it up
said
right
Ice
now.
Pirates.
Come back, Ice Pirates. Go watch the scene, come back, and then you'll know what I'm saying.
Yeah, you'll know. Yeah.
Nobody's mentioning Easy Rider out there. Well, except you
Oh,
did.
of course,
yeah,
Easy
Easy
Rider.
Rider, but
Easy Rider. Yeah.
And then here we go. Action
great
film
movie.
Bullet.
Yeah.
Great film. A film that a lot of action films were,
one of the coolest
weighed
actors
against.
of all time. Steve
Well, this
McQueen.
is the car chase.
Great
McQueen
car
was the coolest,
chase.
man. I love
And
Steve
at the
McQueen.
time, McQueen, this was kind of against his type, and he did not want to do this movie.
Yeah.
He didn't, hands
Was
down,
this
because he was a
before
fucking
or
hippie.
After he
He
did
hated
The Great
cops.
Escape.
Oh, way after. Way after.
After,
That
it's a
was
couple
way
years
after
after.
Great Escape.
Well, not too far
This
after,
is like
is it?
late 60s, and that was
Was Great Escape that
was
far?
61,
61,
61? Oily? Okay.
Magnificent Seven was 60, I think, and the Great Escape was either the same year. Or the
Oh,
year
you're
after, I
right.
believe.
You're right.
Same year.
Yeah, it is. Holy shit. God dang. But yeah, at this point, he did not want to do this because he was a hippie. He was way against this shit.
I don't know. He was kind of a pretty conservative guy, though, in real life.
Not from what I've read and heard about. He was a big hippie at this point. Big hippie.
I read
Well,
something
we've all
different.
had our.
He loved the
little
free
hippie
love
in us.
aspect
Oh,
of the drugs,
but I
Clobby.
read
That's
something different. I mean, yeah, he was
It's totally different.
Well, if
Yeah.
you judge him by today's standards,
by today's standards, he'd probably be still more
By
conservative.
today's
Probably
standards,
right.
he's a
But-
Nazi.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
But he had a bunch of girlfriends, and he actually had this thing in the thing with the
Well, he's a
movie where he,
misogynist Nazi. Okay.
he died too young. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he definitely did.
But let's keep going here. We got in the top
And
10.
same
All
man-
right, I
man from
can
Uncle right
7.
there.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah,
Seven
great.
Samurai.
100%.
I can't
I mean,
believe
there's
more
so many
Kurosawa
movies
films
based
weren't
on
on
this,
here,
so-
but yeah.
Yeah, this is a phenomenal film.
But yeah, you want to talk about a great film? That's a good
Very
one.
long.
That spawned
I don't
so
know
many
those
other things.
days audio.
Here we go,
Okay,
and here's
I'd
the
agree with this,
definition of action
Greatness.
film right here. Alien is a straight up horror film, sci-fi.
Space
Aliens
sci-fi horror.
is a fucking sci-fi action. Exactly,
Yep.
two totally different movies, but it worked.
Love it.
I don't think anybody
Another
can argue with that one.
Great director and told a great story. All right.
Okay, The
Matrix.
Matrix. I don't think anybody can really argue with that too much.
No.
A lot of science fiction action going on.
Oh, here we
Another
go.
great movie.
And I'm glad this is higher because you know why? The whole point was they said we have to do the car chase that will beat Bullet, and they did.
You know, Comics did something on his E&K channel about how
I fucking
they
love this
erased
movie.
pieces of this film. Like he says the N-word.
Oh, you missed
yeah.
that?
Yes,
okay, we
yes,
talked about
yes.
it too. Yeah. So what
yeah,
happened?
you guys
was,
talked about it too? Oh, yeah.
Is Fox, when after they got bought by Disney, at some point has edited the digital version of this movie because there's a scene early on in the movie
Right.
after the first bust in the movie that Roy Scheider's character gets stabbed.
Mm-hmm.
And basically Popeye Doyle goes, "You dumb,
Yeah.
Italian slur. You should never trust a N-word." And he goes,
Right.
"You can't trust anybody with a knife." He goes, "Exactly." He goes, "It could have been anybody with a knife." He goes, "Exactly. Don't trust anybody." They cut that whole bit out.
Are they going to do that to 48 hours? This got way worse stuff.
Oh
in there.
fuck! You can't even touch 48 hours.
They better not. But,
Yeah, they're going to
man.
re-release it as 42 hours.
they
Well, and if they do that, they're kind of missing the whole point.
don't care.
Well, it's like
They're
Blazing Saddles. I mean,
Exactly.
I
You're
don't know how
talking
that-
about getting.
I have
at,
Blazing
exactly.
Saddles on DVD. I have Song of the South on
I have a
DVD.
Blu-ray of
And I have
certain-
argued time and time again that 48 Hours was the last 70s film ever made.
I could see that.
And if you get what I'm saying, exactly, because it's the most hard-edged, it doesn't have a happy-go-lucky ending. Because if they would have made that movie 2-3 years later, Eddie Murphy wouldn't have went back to jail.
You're right. He would have.
They would have found a way, even if as convoluted as it is,
70s was a tough time, man.
and the way that those two characters talk to each other, they would, because they're still not, and that's why I like the sequel, but I'm not happy with it.
got a lot of
There's
really bad stuff in the
issues
sequel,
with
man.
it is because you got because they're not fucking friends by the end of that movie, and you got Nick Nolte. Eddie Murphy's acting correctly in the second film. Nick Nolte isn't, right? He's all acting like they're chummy buddies and shit, and Eddie Murphy's like, "Fuck you," because that's kind of the way they were. And at the end of that movie, that's kind of the thing. And you kind of look at it. If you watch the second film, you're like, man, Nick Nolte's a dick. Why didn't he somehow find a way to get his ass out of jail all this time? No, he just let him sit there and rot for another 3, 4, 5 years.
Yes. Much as it was still fun to see them back
He
together,
could have
that
come in
real big
his
problem.
in his defense when he went on trial for that supposed money stealing thing that he sat in jail for the rest of the time between the two movies, which was just a stupid, convoluted reason to keep Eddie Murphy in jail.
Agreed. In
In reality, that's where Nick Nolte's character would have come in and testified on his behalf. And even if he would have still been found guilty, they wouldn't have got him that much time. You know, that's the thing. In reality, that's where that point, the second film throws reality out the window. The first film is very reality based. That's what my argument is
What
here.
they
I'm
did
sorry
the
for
keyhole was bad too, but yeah.
that too. I didn't care for that.
Tom,
so much,
I believe you're 100% completely wrong. Just to be contrary.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you just saying that, or you actually have?
I'm
an
just saying
argument?
I don't have any point.
I figured as much.
I'm just saying it. Tom is very
Okay.
passionate about this. I am
Well, here we go.
anti-Tom.
Enter the Dragon. Now,
Okay.
I can't disagree with this one. Now, full
This is my
disclosure.
father's favorite film.
Really, there's some other Bruce Lee movies I like better than this, but
It
I can
was a
see why
time
this
and
is the
place
one they
kind of
picked.
thing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Kind of like Star Trek for me, and when I saw that movie, it was a time and place thing, age. Same thing for him. When he saw this and things that were going on, he was doing things in his life. He was getting into running and biking and other things that coming out of 10 years in being in the military and all that stuff. So it was a time and place for him, and he got into some martial arts stuff.
Clobby, you want to say anything about this one? Or?
Well, that's a great movie. You got to respect that being up there.
I don't know if it's top 10.
I can respect it being there, though.
But I can respect it being there. Yes, I agree
Andy?
with that.
Guns. Why doesn't someone just take a 45 and pow, set away?
Exactly.
They
I got
didn't
the
have
set
any.
memorized.
No, I don't. Well, you got to have a Bruce Lee film in the top 10. That's the thing.
I just don't know if it's this
top
movie. I
5.
think you're right on that.
Like
Yeah,
Big Boss or The Chinese Connection are probably
Right.
one of the two I would pick first.
What
but,
was the one that had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in it?
Oh no, you couldn't do Game of Death because there's only 14 minutes of his.
I think this is the one
Of
with
his stuff in
Creed.
it.
Is
Yeah,
it? Isn't
you're
it?
right.
Is it Enter the Dragon that has Creed?
No.
And I'm
No, that's Game of
No.
Death.
It's
that's
Game of Death. Yeah.
Okay,
He died when
that's
he was
right.
filming it.
that's
Yeah,
right.
that's
yeah,
right.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's the one.
yeah,
He was died in the middle of that.
All right. Okay,
Four.
Raiders of the Lost Ark, of course.
Or are you nuts?
Well, there's a couple movies I
I
can see
know.
before this, but yeah.
Okay.
No, that's not even top 10 for me.
It was top. Well, good. It's top 10, way top 5 for me. But go ahead.
No, that's fine. A lot of people love this film and all that stuff. I love
agree.
the film.
It's probably
but from
more
an
properly
action,
paid. Well, I don't know, dude.
I think
There's a lot of
Guns
action
A-Blazing.
set pieces.
It's
There's a
an
lot of
action
action set pieces in Raiders.
That's true.
I
You know,
would
so
argue
it's the same
that
thing. Romancing the Stone.
Yeah, well, I would
I love
argue
that
that Last
movie, but-
Crusade has
Love
the
that
better
movie, too.
action set pieces and the bigger
Yes.
ones, but
The whole tank thing. Yeah.
exactly like that whole bit. But
It's the same thing with the previous one. I think there's better films.
This is a very good movie. I'm not sure it's better than. It's not better than
no,
Raiders.
no.
that's why I made that noise. I'm like,
Yeah, it's not better than Raiders.
Sure.
Because
Well, I'm not even sure it belongs on the list.
my
No,
real
I
number
mean,
one, I don't
no.
think is going to be on here.
Nothing to do with the movie itself, but other than it's just not the right genre.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
doesn't
it's
belong
not.
there.
Okay, this should be number fucking
Right, this-
one.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, this has got to be.
I mean,
Definitely
like
top
to me,
5, but
because every action movie is I compare it to Die Hard, right? It's a standard.
Yeah.
Die Hard is a perfect fucking film. It's a perfect action film.
Yep.
It is everything that made action so wonderful in the 80s.
Bad
I mean,
Guys.
Perfect bad guy, perfect hero.
Speaking of the firearms channels, I knew somebody that recreated him using that Beretta to fire up through the desk and kill the guy. They recreated that. It said, this is possible. This is real. They went through and recreated all of the scenes and stuff he did in this movie. And they're like, this is real. The only one they thought wasn't was when he's running across the glass. He probably would have lost so much blood from getting cut up, he would have fainted. But that's
Well, there's
only
the other
one.
side of that too. Did you see the ones? Do you know the guys who do the whole like how many times they would die or how many times they would wind up in a
Oh, yeah.
hospital and broken bones? In reality, like John McClane dies like 44 times.
44 times in this film. Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, in the last John Wick, he fell off a 20-story building and just
that's not even started. I know.
Get up and walk
I think
off.
the first
No!
John Wick was like 100 in the hundreds. I think.
Yeah, it just,
Yeah, but he had the suit.
he had the
Yeah.
suit, right? The bulletproof suit.
Oh, I haven't watched
Yes.
the fourth one yet, but I heard about all that. All right, everybody's in suspense. What could number one be? Because how can Die Hard not be, like number two should be T2. I
Captain
believe,
Marvel.
agree with more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
T2 and then Die Hard.
And then
yeah.
Die Hard would be number one for me. All right. So what the hell could be The Road? Oh, okay.
Oh,
See, this
no.
should be top 5, but not top number one.
Yeah.
I mean, I like it.
Yeah,
But
there's a lot of
Die
action
Hard?
in this film, but
no, it's an action film. I'm not disqualifying it in that way, like a lot of films.
I
on there,
would
but
flip flop it a little bit
oh,
though.
no,
Yeah.
man, Die Hard, Raiders.
yeah, my
not for me.
number one was not even on the list.
What would that
Okay,
be,
so
sir?
let's quickly then. That's kind of what we were trying to get to anyway. Because Tox, I think you and Klobby and some others noted. Yeah, there's some huge films left off here.
Omissions.
Omissions
Omissions.
impossible. So
And
which omissions?
maybe you might
impossible?
not have thought of mine. So my favorite action film of all time is called Ninja Assassin.
Okay, yeah, you're way off. You and your way
Yeah,
off.
so
like
it is a you want it, but constant action, violence, gore, all kinds of stuff. That's one that wasn't even on this list. And if you're looking at action films, you've got to look at stuff like that. And yeah, Megaforce.
Yeah.
That's not on.
Okay, and here's one that you brought up. I think it was
Lethal Weapon.
Lethal
What the
Weapon.
hell,
How
man?
is the hell is Lethal Weapon
First
not
two
on? Or
especially.
Predator?
Yeah, anything
Predator,
Shane
I didn't
Black
see any
wrote.
of the
This was a very
Yeah,
Schwarzenegger list at the same time. Sorry, and Sly list. Sorry, you were
No
going to say something. Andy.
Predator.
Anything Shane Black wrote. I mean, you know, he
Yeah.
did Last Kiss Goodnight. He did the Lethal Weapon series. He did the Last Boy
Worked on
Scout.
Predator, yeah.
They
Yeah.
need to define the
Last Kiss
parameters.
Goodnight. What a great
Parameters
film.
are so screwed up on this list.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's number one problem is the parameters are fucked.
And how is the
Um,
modern audiences aren't celebrating The Last Kiss Goodnight when you've got a female protagonist and
Right.
the supporting actor is a black man? You know, I
Yeah.
mean, they should
And
be
she
all
totally
over that.
eviscerates the white male bad guy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Uh,
Yeah,
you
I
know
would-
why?
You
though?
probably sit down when you pee. Your mom taught you how to do that. While she's on the water wheel. I'm like, oh my God. That was
I mean,
probably
they're-
Gina Davis's best
How is Total Recall not on here?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
How
Total
is
Recall.
let's see,
There's
there's some
the thing,
other
a
great
science
ones in the
fiction
The
chat.
movie
original,
can be
not
an
the
action
second
movie. A science fiction movie, as we see on this list, can be an action film as well, like you mentioned, Total Recall and T2 and stuff.
Aliens is a great example of
Aliens.
that, right?
Total, like you
Yeah.
said again, Total Recall.
C2.
So, yeah,
Starship Troopers.
Starship Troopers is you could consider
Con Air
sci-fi
was-
action. Yeah.
yeah.
Con Air
How
was
is
a good
Con
action
Air
film.
or the? I mean,
Con
yeah,
Air's
Lost.
the Last
I don't know about
Boy
the Last
Scout.
Boy Scout. I don't know.
Well, consider some of the movies that are on here, though.
Yeah.
yeah.
Last Boy
Lethal
Scout's
Weapon
Well, how
1 and
is
2.
First Blood not on here for fuck's sake?
Right.
Yeah, I know.
Big
Good
Trouble
point.
in Little China. Yeah.
Yes.
John Carpenter's only real action film. I mean, come
Tango
on.
and Cash.
I love Escape from New York. Does have
Yeah.
some action, but I don't know. I mean,
Escape
True.
from New York,
If
yeah.
yeah,
I
if you're
love
not going to have, no, I agree with that. And
And-
Tango Cash is good, but
you might want
if
to
you're not going
exclude
to
all
have one of
westerns.
those two, yeah. Sorry, you were
But-
going to say something.
You might want to exclude all westerns because otherwise you got a lot of westerns. I mean, Silverado. You know.
Yeah, I would
Tombstone,
not
things like
allow
that.
war films or westerns on this
Right.
list.
So let's take them off of there.
Right.
And you got plenty of room for a lot of action movies. And I don't really have a lot of
Exactly.
action movies that I even love that much.
And how
but-
is Van
would you
Damme not
consider-
on this fucking
Would you
list?
consider any of the Dirty Harry movies action films?
Exactly. Yeah, somebody brought that up. That's another one.
Yes,
How is Clint Eastwood not on this fucking list outside
Come
of
on.
the good, the bad, and the ugly? It's like no. There's tons of other shit that.
Where
Oh,
Eagles
fucking
Dare.
Christ.
If you're talking about a Clint Eastwood movie that's got action in it,
Right.
well, that's
Exactly.
a war movie, though. But I mean,
Well, still, Escape from New York was another one. I said if you don't have Big Trouble, Escape from New York definitely.
yeah.
I mean,
Big Trouble in
Bloodsport or
China,
something
right?
from
The Running
True
Man,
Lies,
Bloodsport,
another
yeah.
one that should be
True
on
Lies
here.
is another one's good.
Demolition Man,
Yes.
Running Man.
Judge Dredd. The second one, Judge Dredd.
That's called Dread. But
Yeah.
Yeah, Dredd.
Yeah, Dread should be on here. I agree.
Dredd should be on there. That's a great film.
I've as I'm the only person on the planet that doesn't like it, but I have very Judge Dredd fanboy reasons for that. So
Which is
Dirty
fine.
Harry should be on here, at least one
there's
of them.
definitely differences
I'm a
between
fanboy
what-
of the character. RoboCop.
Here's one that's pissed me off. Yeah, RoboCop,
RoboCop.
should fucking be on here.
How's that not on there? It's a
That's in
totally
my
action.
top 5 for sure.
God, I
The
love
thing
it.
is, there's not a top 5 or a top 10 of these action films. There's just a conglomeration of 30 to 40 of these films that are great action films. that
Exactly.
you
I
should
agree.
watch,
You're right.
I mean, because I cannot disagree with Die Hard being number 1. I can't,
No,
right?
me
But I also cannot disagree with Bullet being number 1 because of what it spawned.
Right. No,
You know,
totally.
right.
But
We
those are
could sit
movies that
there
are
and-
action
Yeah.
movies, though.
Exactly.
true action movie.
Kill
True
Bill.
action movies.
Kill Bill Volume 1.
Mhm.
And that's Ninja Assassin and Kill Bill Volume 1, same kind of thing to me.
Well,
That's
Yeah,
the same
300
sort of
is
stuff.
one that people are bringing in the chat.
Oh, 300.
That
Jesus
would
Yeah.
count.
Christ, that's another one.
Well, it depends
Yeah.
if you're going to break it up into, because we always had martial arts movies were its own genre.
Right.
The cop movies were their own
Right.
genre. The war movie, and it's you can
But
break.
when I
it into
think of pure
subcategories.
action films, when I consider it an action film, I'm talking about when you put that at the top of its genre.
Well, to me,
So
that
Saving
would be-
Private Ryan, those opening
No.
scenes where they're on Normandy, you cannot. That's just pure action.
Yeah, but it's not an action film, right? Like that's
Right.
where I draw the line is like a war film. Now, you can make the exception, like can a war film be considered an action film? Well, that's where Rambo comes in, right? Because again, that's where it's more about the character himself than the actual war part.
Well, there's
the
not
war
any
is more of
Chuck
just a
Norris
carrier.
films on here either.
That's another one. Thank you. Chuck Norris is another. I can't believe there's nothing like Delta Force or any of the other stuff.
How about Under Siege?
Well, I'm not even a big fan.
But that's a pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. That's the thing is when you think of action, there's the better argument. Here we go. Here's where I think we're hitting the nail on the head. When we think of action, it's usually built on the star, right? Bruce Lee.
Sometimes, yeah.
Bruce Willis, Clint Eastwood, Keanu Reeves, Chuck Norris,
even the Bourne
Steven
Identity,
Seagal, Van Damme. When you say those movies, 9 times out of 10, that's when you consider it an action film, because even a John Woo, when you get into directors, right? Because I see people bring up Face Off. I agree, Face Off should have been on here. Why is that not on here? But yet United 93, exactly. It makes no fucking sense. So to me, the action film usually matters more on I think we have to go, the criteria, if we were to make our own, I think we'd have to go on, is it built on an action star? I think is kind of the first bit of criteria we got to go on.
I can agree with that. Is it built on an action star, or because if you look at Independence Day, there's a lot of action in Independence Day, but there's no real true star.
Will Smith, you could argue, eventually became an action star.
Yeah, became one, but he wasn't at the time.
But that's what I'm saying. There's a big absence of Sly, Schwarzenegger, Van Damme type movies. You're right, Seagal. These are the kind of guys that, when you think of action heroes, exactly, Ion Face. Dolph Lundgren, even. Fucking, like, come on. I mean, they qualify more than some of this shit.
Any one of the previous Expendables films could have beaten several
at least
movies
one of them
there.
should have been on here. You're right. Cobra should have probably been on here, something like that. There's a few. You can even argue that Rocky 4, by the time you get to like Rocky 3 and 4, those two could almost be considered, because they sold them like action films. Wesley Snipes, yes. How is Wesley Snipes not on this fucking list anywhere?
Passenger 57.
Or Blade, even.
Blade.
And then that's another thing I noticed. That now you just made me think of something else, guys. Thank you so much in the chat. What is your fucking criteria? Because a lot of people would consider most superhero films in that action genre. There wasn't one fucking superhero movie on this entire list. Now I just realized that. Not one.
Wouldn't any of the Batman films?
The first Batman films were basically listed as action films. Exactly.
Action films.
Their criteria for this list is fucked.
I agree.
Movies that have action in them that we like. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean,
I would argue like the first Spider-Man movie definitely could be categorized as an action film, in a way. Like, I mean, how are they missing out on that? Captain America, Superman, Batman.
And that's
definitely.
why I think Andy's point is very valid with this. You've got superhero, kung fu.
Ninja Turtles is not on here. What the fuck?
Exactly. Because I would put Ninja Turtles in with the superheroes.
But it's also got the action with the karate fight.
Well, no,
and shit,
it's a superhero action film. I mean, there's the thing with the superhero film.
Most superheroes
there's always
are
going to be action.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think your point's right, Tom. It has to be centered around who we consider to be an action star.
Eddie Murphy didn't have any on here either. Yes, because you could argue all the Beverly Hills Cop films in 48 Hours, like we brought up too, are considered action comedies.
Well, The Adventures of Pluto Nash was nonstop action. I think Clobbering Times may have had a stroke.
Vomiting count is action.
Star Wars had a lot of action.
Leonard
Cliffhanger
Part
should be on
6.
here. Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's a great film.
See, that's the thing, David. We were trying to make the argument as to what is the criteria here, because some people would have considered, and a lot of places in video stores you walk into, it's Jaws in the action section or the horror section, depending on which store you walk into.
It could also be a suspense thriller.
Exactly.
So Jaws does have a lot of action.
It does
Debbie
have a
Does
hell of a
Dallas.
lot
That
of
was the
action
one I
in
was
it.
thinking, yeah.
Oh my
Hey.
God. Thank you, Mr. Tickle Trunk. How the fuck is Highlander not on this list?
Wow.
That is top 5. Come
The
in.
greatest movie ever.
Yes.
Why did they ever? If only they ever did a sequel. It's probably a good
What
thing
sequel?
They, what? They never made a
Action-
sequel.
Action Man's
that
nailing
never
it.
happened.
Romancing the Stone definitely is a
Yeah.
great
Well,
film.
that falls into like, yeah. So then it's like, do we do subcategories?
Hot Fuzz was great. Someone mentioned
Fuzz
Yeah,
was a
Hot
great
Fuzz
action
is a
film.
great example. Well, that's an example of an action. That's a satire on action films.
The
Exactly. There you
Untouchables.
go.
Someone's mentioning that.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of action in it.
The Crow. How's the Crow not on here?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh man.
How is Highlander 2 not on this list? Mortal Kombat. If you're gonna bring in some of these movies, how is the first Mortal Kombat not on here? Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Terminator 2 was on here, but it was way down the list, Christopher. You might
Yeah,
have
it was
missed
in a wrong place.
You're like, yeah, how
It,
the hell
Kill
is this
Bill
way
were in
down
the wrong
here?
place? Yeah.
Beverly Hills Cop should be in the top 2, somewhere near the top. I agree.
Because if you're going to have Bullet and you're going to have some of those
Yeah.
other cop genre things, they're like Dirty Harry and all that kind of stuff. You've got to have.
See, because then that's where we should almost do subcategories in that sense.
Yeah.
Because Dick Tracy was another one I see people bring up. Yeah,
I mean, you get into stuff like the Phantom and the Shadow and things and stuff like that, but those
I still
weren't
can't
really
believe
good
RoboCop
films.
wasn't on here either.
RoboCop's
The only way
a
to do
big
this
omission.
would be to make all your subcategories, and then that is the
Mm-hmm.
playoffs, and then you have the grand championship.
Yeah, I think that's a good
Well, that
idea.
or like I said, you just kind of break it down to like I said. First of all, it doesn't have an action star. Is action? It's for genre. That's the two main criteria I think we have to go by
Because
first.
the Kill Bill films, you can, Uma Thurman is the star.
Is an action star? Yeah, in a way.
Right.
Yeah.
And there are people around that. Madsen and everybody else that was in that film did a great job, but it was centered around that one person. And
But that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
If you just chop out war films and westerns, which I
Yeah.
love,
But
take
there
a
are-
big chunk out of this thing.
Yeah, and if you're gonna have
No.
this is another one. Yeah, how the fuck do you have Point Blank on here but not
Roadhouse,
Roadhouse?
Not Roadhouse. No.
What the fuck? When guys think of action movies, like that's in that like what the hell?
Well, I think Andy will agree with me on this one. Porky's had a lot of action.
I
I mean, come on.
Kim Cattrall.
Yeah, Kim Cattrall there.
Yeah.
She,
How is no Zorro movies on here? Good point, but I think that fell in the they obviously said right away no superhero movies. You can clearly tell that now. Which to me, because otherwise this would be so full of them. Probably that's why.
and some of the classic movies that they picked were
There was just a randomness to some.
yeah,
of
were
them, too.
random to that. I mean, yes, Robin Hood
Yeah.
is a phenomenal film.
That one made sense, but yeah,
Well,
there's a couple of
His
them.
Captain Kidd movie had a lot of action.
And
in it,
Captain
too.
Blood, what film
Yes.
he made.
Captain Blood. That's what I meant. That had a lot of action stuff to it too. But
Yeah,
and we could talk about this all night.
we could. And
I
how is
cannot argue
Conan-
that The Road Warrior is not a great action film, but
Not top-
it is not number one. It is not,
not number one.
Die Hard
Maybe
is
top
number one.
10, but yeah,
Die Hard, the Christmas movie Die Hard is number one.
it definitely is. Let's see. Let's get to these super chats here, and then we'll get out of here for culture, so he doesn't have a conniption fit.
Yeah.
Todd Zilla says, "Ever see the IMAX film special effects? Anything Can Happen in '96? They reshot the Star Wars Star Destroyer intro in IMAX using an Empire Strikes Back Star Destroyer model." No, I haven't. I don't think.
What is that called?
Oh,
Anything
IMAX
Can
film
Happen.
special effects. Anything can happen. No, I'll have to look and see. I doubt it's available anywhere. 'Cause that's the other thing about those IMAX movies is that back then they were like IMAX exclusive stuff.
Yeah.
Time in Review says, how is Hardcore Henry not on the list? It's nonstop. I don't know about Hardcore Henry, but I could see Crank being on the list. Yeah.
District 9.
District 9.
9.
Accident Seller says, where's Legally Blonde 2? That's the $1 million question right there. Yeah, I said the same thing,
Predator
Todd Zilla.
definitely
How is
belongs on
Predator not on the list?
Right.
Like, what the hell?
Crazy.
Mr. Tickle Trunk says the 80s was action decade, too few used. I agree. That was the other thing. A lot of 80s absence on this list. And that's where I said, like, yeah, we had no action stars on this list, really. I mean,
Well,
Last Action Hero was more of an action movie than some of these movies on this list were.
You only had one Mel Gibson movie, and he ruled
Yeah.
the 80s.
Yeah. Well, that's what we said. Where's Lethal Weapon?
Weapon
You know.
1 and 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
Road Warrior, Lethal Weapon.
Well, Road Warrior is number one, but
Yeah, but then, well, that's what I'm saying. Though that was no, Mad Max is number one. Road Warrior.
No, it
was-
said Roy. Well, it said in the list Road Warrior was their number one pick for
The
best
original
action
title
film
is
of
Mad
all
Max
time.
2, though.
Okay.
Yeah. It was the Road Warrior one as they had. Yeah, First Blood should be on there. I can't believe that's not. Yeah, the list sucked, Duck Nation, and that was kind of the fun part of doing it. But
Yeah.
let's. Speaking of doing lists that suck, Culture is supposed to be doing the worst films of 2023 so far, if he hasn't already.
It's a long list.
Has this ever been released on video? That's a good question. This.
What?
Oh, and Ben Burt directed it. That makes sense. That IMAX special effects
I can't believe
documentary.
Black Adam wasn't on the list. Racist.
I don't think it's ever been released on video. Black Adam, yeah. I can't believe they didn't throw some of those in there just because.
Just because I wanted to.
They left out Schindler's List in the color purple. What the fuck, right?
Racist.
Racists. Oh, he's only been talking Mission Impossible for yeah, because he's probably butthurt that I've been telling him it's not doing well. And they can't argue it too
There's
much.
a lot of people butthurt you've been saying.
There's a very lot
Twitter,
of
I'm like,
people-
holy
people-
crap.
Yeah, they're very butthurt about it. I haven't even looked lately. I don't even want to
Really?
see it.
Uh-oh.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I'm not trying to be a dick about it. I'm just saying it's not good.
You don't have to try, Tom.
Yeah.
You're just Tom.
I know. I try to do my best. to
Yeah,
do
they
my
didn't have
duty.
Die Hard
God
number
in my
one. It was not
country.
a serious list.
It did have
really-
Die Hard.
Yeah, it was in there. But I mean, what else would
Yeah.
be in the running for number one if it's not Die Hard?
Well, for me, it's
Terminator
Raiders,
2.
but yeah.
Raiders. Okay, I can see that.
T2,
Terminator
2.
2. That's the one I think would be,
Yeah,
in that action kind of thing.
I hear you.
But yeah, I cannot argue against Raiders either.
I can't believe
you could.
there's more Schwarzenegger and shit on there either. But anyway, Mecha J says, for a magazine called Variety, this does not have a lot of it. No, it doesn't. Yeah.
I mean, that's the beauty about the films and all this stuff. We can all have our different opinions. Like, my number one would have been Ninja Assassin, but that's just because of the movie that I watched. No, seriously. I watched
I
that
know,
and everything.
I know.
Talking about an action film and all that. I thoroughly enjoyed that film and will watch it again and again. And there's very few films, Tom, that I will watch over. And that's one of the few.
It just
And
it doesn't surprise me. That's why I'm laughing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
no
it's just
canon
a-
films at all, man. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, they don't get this. This is bullshit. We need to do a better list. But anyway, we've run out of time here. I want to thank everybody so much for being here. I want to thank you guys on the panel here for hanging out for a bit. It was fun. Clobby, you got anything coming up you want to plug at all?
No, nothing much. Just thanks for having me. Appreciate it. The usual tomorrow night at J-Man's channel, then later on my own channel, 9 p.m. for Monday Night Marcy Comics Talk. Thanks for having me, bud.
Oh, we're glad to have you, of course. Andy, anything you got coming up you want to plug?
I'll be on Doomcock Show on Wednesday night, and Ranker Steve's Manorama on Rumble on Thursday.
All right. And then we've got Toxic Man Flu here. What do you got going on you want to plug? I know you're going to probably be jumping over to Culture Stream with me.
Yeah, well, I'll jump over to Culture and give him a hard time. And then we've got the Monday Meltdown and Yelling Apart Cars on Monday. And then we'll do Thursday Night Throwdown on Thursday.
Oh, and Fusion Nevo. Just send in a super chat. You're 100% right. How is Hot Shots Part 2 not on here? Great action.
Yeah.
That's a
I mean,
big
Topper
mistake.
Harley.
You
think action? You
talk
think
about a
Topper
sequel that's
Harley.
better than the original, man. I mean,
True. It was so much better.
It was better than the original. I mean,
Wasn't
it
that
was
Lloyd
good.
Bridges' last
But
film?
you're like, oh my God. I remember watching that movie and I'm like, how is this better than the first one? I'm like,
When he cleans out his ears with it. Oh, God. I
Just
think
the
that,
whole
was that
thing.
Lloyd Bridges' last film?
oh no, I think
He did more after that? Okay.
a few more. Let's see. What was Lloyd Bridges' last film?
Oh, Russell, look up Ninja
They
Assassin.
didn't do Harley Davidson and Marlboro Man either.
Yeah, stuff like there's a lot of stuff I can't believe is not on there.
I mean, Every Which Way But Loose. Come on.
Yeah.
Right Turn, Clyde.
There was absolutely
Right
no
there,
Clint Eastwood outside of his that one Western, and that was it.
Yeah.
So,
He was
Robert-
on some TV shows near the end. He was on Seinfeld, Ned and Stacy. Looks like his last movie was in 2000 in a movie called Meeting Daddy.
okay.
Oh, Lloyd.
probably his last big movie performance, believe it or not, would probably have been Blown Away with Jeff Bridges and Tommy Lee Jones.
That's right. That was an action.
Oh yeah,
that was like his last big movie anyway. And then
you
Hot
go.
Shots Part 2 just before that. So you weren't far off. I mean, he had a few years left in him after that, but he was also in some bad shit like that Mafia movie. I don't know if anybody even remembers that. It was like a parody of The Godfather.
Oh yeah, the
film, so it was
Mafia one
bad.
with Jay Moore.
He
there was
might
a
have been
funny
in it.
bit in that. It was Jay Moore and it was Christina Applegate.
Yep,
And
it's the
Christina
Jay Moore
Applegate.
one. Yep.
Yeah, Jay Moore. They meet. Jay Moore says, "Here's your son," and she's like, "I didn't know we had a child," and I just fell over laughing in theater. You can't make that movie now because of gender stuff, but
yeah,
a lot of fun there.
Back even when shit movies were better than the crap we get now.
Yep.
Bad Boys, Meteor Advocate time.
Yeah, how is Bad Boys not on the
Boys.
list?
Yeah.
The first one at least.
Yeah.
That had some great action sequences in it.
Yeah, there's the Bad Boys, the first one. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot in there.
And I actually liked Bad Boys 3 more than I thought I was going to.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of sad that Will Smith had to go slapping a bitch. What the fuck?
Yeah,
Nobody even really liked Chris Rock. That's what sucks. It's like you had to pick Chris Rock to hit. Like, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's okay. I mean, he's just Chris Rock. I mean, what the fuck? Chris Rock of all people?
Yeah, but he was great, and I'm gonna get you, sucker.
Chris Rock was?
Yeah.
He was.
Chris Rock was great back in the day, but then he
It's
went all
like-
bitch.
I want one rib.
Yeah, that's right. He was. Oh my
I'm
God.
a one real.
I love that movie.
Well, you give me 50 cents, you let me sick on the bone. $1.75 or whatever it was, yeah. No, Chris Rock used to be great back in the day. Then, yeah. All right, kids. I'm gonna head over to Cultures. Take care of yourselves and
Good night,
each
everybody.
other.
I got molested in the little boy's room.
That's right.
Wow.
You did.
Excuse me, ma'am. No porn at the bar.
Oh, it's okay. I'm transgender.
Oh, I had no